successful son of AP Indy has sired 6 millionaires, including Eclipse champion West Coast, a multiple Grade 1 winner and runner-up in the $16 million Pegasus World Cup. This year, Flatter is adding even more stakes winners to his outstanding record at stud. In the auction ring, Flatter topped the 2018 Phasing-Tipton July sale with a $520,000 yearling. Success on the track, success in the ring. Flatter, standing at Claiborne Farm.
They're on. Bet the horses anywhere, anytime with Naira Bets.
Rushes out of there to take the lead.
It's easy on your computer or Naira Bets app. Earn valuable reward points on bets. Play in our exclusive promotions and earn cash rebates.
Love that turn with a link to the half lead.
Sign up now. Bet $200 and get $200.
The dramatic finish.
Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. NairaBets.com.
How do New York breds perform? They win in world-class company. From Grade 1 races in Dubai, where New York-sired New York bred Mind Your Biscuits won the Golden Shaheen for a second time, to Belmont adding to his status as the richest New York bred with a close second in the Met Mile. The Belmont Festival saw 2 more New York breds become millionaires. 4-star Crook in the New York Stakes and world record setter Disco Partner with a repeat victory in the Jaipur. New York breds, get with the program.
His record-breaking accomplishments on the racetrack paved his way here to the Stall of Legends. Now retired to stud, we welcome the dawning of a new era as this esteemed champion hopes to stake his claim to immortality. His blazing speed and striking good looks have been passed down to his remarkable first foals. Foals that will carry the flag of their famous father and one day hope to break records of their own. Medication-free and undefeated in sprint competition. Run happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Back on Saratoga Live here on Fox Sports 2 and other regional networks across the country. Jockeys making their way out to the paddock, getting a leg up shortly here. Saratoga Showdown online contest. You can get involved without risking any of your own money. Go to naira.com/showdown. You're competing for real prizes, like a grand prize package to next year's Belmont Stakes. Get involved. It's every day of our show. And again, you're not risking any of your own money. It's time for a paddock report right now. We're going to check in with Maggie Wolfendale. It's brought to you by Hillendale Farm, now standing Curlin for $150,000.
Thanks, Greg. And even money currently on lovely Lala as she goes back to the dirt here after breaking her maiden on the turf course for Chad Brown. Now, she is at the 7 furlongs here once again, but on the surface where I don't think she's quite as good. Yes, I mean, these are the connections you want, and she looks fantastic here physically. She's dappled head to toe. But on the flip side of that, physically, she's more inclined for the turf, as I'm in total agreement here with Tom Amos as number 13, Beach Princess, is the one you want here, and you're probably going to get some value, lower profile connections. But let me tell you, Dan Conway, who comes from Finger Lakes, always brings his horses over looking tremendous. They carry great flesh. They're well conditioned, and that's exactly what Beach Princess is here. Now, she goes to 7/8. In her 3/4 races, she's been a little out-footed, and so 2 turns around the Finger Lakes Oval has been where she's been most successful. But I'm okay with the 7/8 here. You know, she's a bit more on the smaller, handier side, little built downhill. I really like what I'm seeing here from Beach Princess. And Andy, I know you're always a fan of a lone MTO in an off-the-turf race.
Well, you know, Maggie, I definitely am going to use her. I wouldn't be as gutsy as Tom to single her, and you do have to look at the MTOs. But I agree with, you know, sort of where you're going, specifically talking about the 3. You're supposed to play against against Hollywood Cat, who's not a dirt horse. And if she wins and beats you at a short price, you move on. The 8-horse Lovely La La is also way over bet Paul at even money here. I'm not saying she can't win. She ran fine in her debut. Pace was quick. Field was okay. But she shouldn't be even money in here.
No, and that's what makes Tom's case. I understand where Tom's going. You got a one-time winner, and then you go to the 13 Beach Princess, and she's a 5-time winner. The thing about Lovely La La, she's a filly by Uncle Mo, and she won on the turf. She's not going to get that today, but her dirt race was okay. Now, Spot Treatment was scratched, I think, out of yesterday's card, or
she's being bet based on her turf race,
exactly.
so her odds are too low.
Yeah. Because
if you just had the dirt race and you didn't have the Chad Brown factor, she'd be about 4-1 in this race.
Yeah.
Whereas the 10 Cartwheel, in my opinion, should actually be favored here. Cartwheel got a good trip when she broke her maiden April 22nd. I think the 7 furlongs hits her right between the eyes. This is her maiden win at Aqueduct, 3 races back. She bullied her way through. Rail was good, got a good trip, but she won like you're supposed to with a good trip. Next time out, she was forced to go a mile 16th, and she was chasing a big favorite who's a big speed horse. So it's not surprisingly, she backed up. She ran great in the turf last time. I really wanted to bet on the turf today, but I still think her dirt form makes her the horse to beat, perhaps along with Tom's horse, Beach Princess.
Yeah, you got to remember now, this has turned into a 7-furlong dirt race.
Yep.
And her best race is what? 1 turn mile. And it's a good race. She went by 6 ranks when she broke her maiden. I thought her race, the mile and 16th race, when she ran 3rd to Might Be, was not that bad. And she actually did throw her head at the start in that turf race.
And she tired from chase. Oh, she ran super last time in a 4-wide trip. I loved her on the turf today. The 13 Beach Princess, I don't need to repeat everything Tom Amos said about this horse about 5 minutes ago. He said it all. She's running against some good horses. People might see Finger Lakes and say, oh, they're wrong. We've seen Finger Lakes horses ship here, and you've pointed out, Paul, and be successful for years.
Yeah, they have. And Dan Conway has been a guy that's been training horses for a long time. Alex Powell is a sire, a smaller sire, but he sends out nice horses. And this mare, again, has 5 wins against a field where all the rest of them only have 1. Besides the 3 Hollywood Cat, those are 2 turf wins.
I played the pick 4, and I used 8, 10, 13. I'm not going to let Lovely La La beat me, but I think from a betting standpoint in this point, and the guys upstairs can expound on this and see what they think, I think she's a dramatic underlay at even money.
Yeah, very, very short price, especially for a filly here who she's lightly raced, and her win did not come on this surface.
Yeah, no, and I will say this, though. With the scratch of this race, it does look like the pace falls on Lovely La La, and she may be able to control things on the front end. I think a lot of that has to do with that even money price in our 8-horse.
Post break coming up here in a moment. Call to post, you hear? Again, get signed up, started. Download the NyraBets app or go to nyrabets.com to get involved, and you can get involved in a pick 4 that already has up at over $400,000 here in the pool. We're going to start things off in a moment here with the 2. Courageous Change, who will have the rail in this race. Again, we're 7 furlongs on the main track. Was scheduled for a mile on the inner turf. Just the Lake Placid race 8 that remains on the grass today. Here's Courageous Change for James Ferraro.
You're looking at a horse that's had 4 dirt starts, no first, seconds, or third. This would be a surprise for her to end up in the winner's circle.
Hollywood Cat, the 3, trained by Jason Service. 2-back was a winner on the turf at Belmont.
If this race had been scheduled for the dirt and people handicapped it as such, she maybe be 8, 10 to 1. She's 3 to 1 because of her turf form, not dirt races.
Lovely La La, even money for Chad Brown with Jose Ortiz.
Not a lot of experience, only 2 starts, but certainly a horse that can control things on the front end out the gate.
9-horse, it is a rider change. Rajiv Mirage aboard birthday gift for trainer Patrick Kelly.
She would be more than a birthday gift if you bet her and she somehow wins.
Cartwheel, sounds like he's not a big fan. Mark Hennick, Jose Lezcano.
This horse that's going back to the dirt and has significant dirt form, 4 to 1.
Beach Princess. We'll see here in a moment. 5 to 1. This is Tom Amos's single in the pick 4, trained by Daniel Conway and Dylan Davis.
I hate to say it, but Tom Amos has made a number of good points in today's show, especially about the favorite being the speed. But this horse, a very dangerous horse, Beach Princess, with excellent form at Finger Lakes.
There is the favorite, even money, Lovely La La with a pick 4. Start off with the chalk. Or will we see an upset like we saw back in race 6 to start off the NyraBets late pick 5 with a first or coat of honor at 6 to 1, getting the job done. 7th coming up next when we return.
stretches back to the outside. Exaggerator down to the 16th pole, but Exaggerator has turned the tables. He has won the Preakness. He has won the Travers over American flag. Irish War Cry has won the Wood Memorial. Alice. Good Magic's gonna win his first race, and he's gonna do it as the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Back on Saratoga Live on Alabama Day. Lake Placid still to come on turf for 3-year-old fillies and the Grade 1 Alabama. 3-year-old fillies going 1.25 miles on dirt in race number 9. This is one of the big days of the meet ahead. And right now, we're taking a look here at the 13. Tom Amos's single here as we start off our pick 4 Beach Princess. Do you like what you see of her warming up?
Yeah, she looks fine. What I like her more on paper than anything else. I mean, look, she's won 5 races. Half of her lifetime starts, she's been either first or second. I love seeing a horse on her toes as she is, but not being unruly. So that is very good behavior to me on the racetrack.
And shortening up just a touch. She's been going 1 mile and 40 yards at Finger Lakes. Needs to get 7 furlongs here this afternoon. Also going to have to try and beat an even money favorite. And a lot of that is just a race that maybe has bettors a little confused because it switched surfaces here and distance a touch. And why not go with the meet's leading trainer in Chad Brown? We look at the 10, though, right now. And here's Cartwheel, Jose Lezcano for Mark Hennig, getting back to the dirt.
Getting back to the dirt. I watched a race that Andy commented on back on April the 22nd, you know, and that's a race she's supposed to win, and it's kind of a grinded out finish. That doesn't wow me. I'm not saying Cartwheel can't win, but I want to see a little bit more spunk in a horse that has the right setup and finishes up in a race.
4-1 on Cartwheel. For more, we go to Maggie.
Thanks, guys. And it feels as though the betting in this race is just primarily going to connections. As number 10, Cartwheel, she'll go out for Mark Henning, and really she has the dirt races to be competitive here. And the one race that she won was going a one-turn mile at Aqueduct. So once again, she gets a one-turn 7/8 here, and why can't she be effective? I think she's actually put on a bit of weight being up here at Saratoga, which I think is a good sign. Now, 3-1 on Hollywood Cat. I'm scratching my head. Maybe she'll prove me wrong here. One thing I can say is that Irad Ortiz did give her a fairly aggressive warm-up out on the track. So while she's not necessarily one that has blast-away speed, she can lay close, and maybe they're thinking that the only option being on the main track for her to be able to be competitive here is if they get aggressive with her and send her. But guys, don't you feel as though they're kind of just relying on Jason Service and Chad Brown here?
It does seem that way. And, you know, for Hollywood Cat, the 3 you got to look at there. Only had Andy one start on dirt and didn't seem to like it all that much.
Yeah, I mean, Maggie's 100% right. This is why we often say that you want to take a good look at off-the-turf races that frequently the wrong horses get bet. And look at it this way. Hollywood Cat is 3-1. That means that there is a higher percentage of the amount of money bet in this race as there is a takeout in the race. So you could effectively, if you believe that Hollywood Cat isn't going to even run first or second, you could Dutch and bet all the other exacta combinations and be guaranteed to make money. And I think that's the way you want to look at it. You throw her out, then you say the number 8, Lovely Laha, who might be able to wire the field. And Tom made a good point about her. And the track has been kind to speed, but she shouldn't be even money here. And so there's value on the board because horses like the 10 Cartwheel and the 13 Beach Princess should not be 7-2 and 5-1 in this race, Paul.
You think they should be lower?
They should be much lower. They should probably be 2-1 and 5-2 and about 7-2 or 3-1.
Okay, so I'm going to fight back on Tom's pick, the 13, because I do like the 3 in here, and I'll tell you why. The horse never tried, and I don't like the 13. I'll tell you why. The horse ran a good 4th last time in a field of 5. He ran 2nd in a field of 5. Is he going to face a field over 8? The 10, Cartwheel, has got 1 win that he was supposed to win, garbage field. The 3 runs at all. And by the way, you guys are knocking Jason Service and Irad Ortiz, the leading rider and almost the leading trainer percentage-wise.
We're knocking the bettors that are making it 3-1.
I understand that, but you guys, and then you got Lovely Lala who you're knocking. But my thing is that the 3 runs at all to her turf, and maybe that's why he claimed her, to put her on the dirt.
Well, I guess, Andy, to be fair, too, look, we're looking at Hollywood Cat. The only time she did try the dirt, it was a muddy track that day. Totally different surface here this afternoon, so we really don't know.
Well, it was a muddy Harrow track. I know they're listing it fast. It's not muddy, but there's moisture in this track. I'm not saying she can't win. I mean, miracles happen all the time. Listen, Paul LeDuc and I are getting paid to talk about racing, so miracles happen. Having said that, she is a horrendous bet at 3-1.
Horrendous or not, when you look at her family, it is all dirt. So I can assure you that Jason Service is delighted that this race came off the grass.
That may be the most insane thing you've ever said, Tom, and that's stretching
do you
it.
even
I
know
got
her
to tell
family?
you,
I'm telling you, her first
this
family
race
is
came
strong
off the turf.
dirt.
They're not delighted. Michael Dubb took a shot. He's trying to win the ownership title again. I get it. But they're not delighted it came off the turf, Tom. Come on.
Look, I'm telling you, based on what's in this field, going to the dirt, this horse, the first family of this horse and the baby of this family are so much more dirt than grass.
So what's taking so long to get in the dirt?
Well, maybe the connections, because this is the first time Jason Service, or second time he's going to run the horse.
They entered her in a turf race.
They did indeed, as many others have, knowing that perhaps they're going to come off. We've had nothing but rain up here all meet. I'm not saying he's delighted the race came off the turf because of anything more than what he's now facing on the dirt.
Yeah, I got to keep that in mind here, what you got to deal with in trying to win this race now that it comes off the turf. We are just almost all loaded here. For the start of this late pick 4, 10 horse stepping in line Cartwheel, and then Beach Princess will be set to go. Let's send it upstairs. We actually have a jockey off, actually, on the 2. Junior Alvarado trying to get settled on the 2 there. Courageous Change. He does have the rail. And looks like he settles back into the irons. Let's go upstairs to the voice of horse racing's Triple Crown for the call. Here's Larry Colmus.
They're all in line. They're off. Slow beginning for Birthday Gift is Hollywood Cat. speeds away to the early lead. Courageous Change on the inside. Cartwheel is up there with Lovely Lala. On the far outside, it's Beach Princess. And after that tardy beginning, far, far behind is Birthday Gift, the trailer, as they head up the backstretch. Hollywood Cat pressured along by Cartwheel, and the two of them match strides on the lead. Lovely Lala's third. Courageous Change on the inside, fourth. Beach Princess is fifth and racing 4 lengths off the lead, and it's a good 10 lengths back to a laggard Birthday Gift after a quarter of 23.83 seconds. There's a half mile to run, and Cartwheel is taking the lead. Jose Lezcano and Cartwheel scampering off here to a 3-length lead. Lovely Lala moves alongside of Hollywood Cat. Their heads apart, second and third. 4 lengths to Courageous Change, who takes fourth, but is a good 6 behind as they make their way around the far turn. The half was 47.44 seconds, and it is Cartwheel in control. Turning for home with a 5-length lead at the top of the stretch. And then it's Hollywood Cat, followed by Lovely Lala to the outside, Courageous Change and Beach Princess. But it's all Cartwheel coming by the 8th pole, 10 lengths out in front. And then it's Lovely Lala, followed by Beach Princess on the outside. They're coming down to the line, and Cartwheel crushed them. Cartwheel by a dozen lengths under the wire. Lovely Lala was second, and then it was Beach Princess, followed by Hollywood Cat.
Cartwheel runs this group off their feet here to start off this late pick 4 under Jose Lezcano.
Yeah, an easy race to dissect. Almost an opening quarter in 24 seconds, almost a half in 48 seconds, and you're clear on the lead. There is no excuse from that point. Cartwheel, an easy winner, setting all the pace in pedestrian fractions.
Yeah, and the race was over. Listen, a futile chase. Hollywood Cat actually took the lead, and Cartwheel just like went by her like she was standing still.
Yeah, I think Cartwheel should have been favored in this race and said it beforehand. And once she cleared the lead, as Tom said, this race was over. It was a complete joke. It's only a question who got second. And, Tom, I have a question for you now. How delighted is Jason Service now this race came off the turf?
Come on, Andy. That's not fair. I mean, really? You're going to blast me right now after the fact?
I feel a little sorry for you because your single didn't win the pick 4,
Jeez.
but not that bad.
Oh, okay. I'm coming after you next time. It's on.
Cartwheel gets the win, 7-2. Let's go downstairs to Maggie Wolfendale.
And here with winning trainer Mark Henning and Cartwheel. Mark, was this all by design? Had her in the AE and got to run her on the dirt, which is where she's won her only other race.
Yeah, well, this filly, I thought the way the race scratched down, it looked like a good spot to kind of get up and be part of the race, and that's what Jose and I talked about in the paddock. I didn't know how much speed Chad's horse will show coming off the turf. She obviously showed a lot of speed on the turf, but I said if you get a jump on her and kind of make her uncomfortable at all, that would probably be beneficial.
And your filly Cartwheel seems as though when you get her up in front of horses is when she gets confident, and she showed it today.
Yeah, she's one of those fillies, she works tremendous in the mornings, and I mean, and she worked here last year really, really well. And fractured a cannon bone that day. Patti Hogan, Dr. Hogan is here today, ironically, so she's going to be in the win picture. But, I thought last year when I ran her here worked her here on the dirt, I was so looking forward to running her, and then she didn't cool out well that day. But it just goes to show you what can happen if you take care of them, they come back strong.
Patience always pays off. Mark, congratulations to you.
Thanks, Maggie.
All right, guys, Cartwheel seems like a filly that loves it here at the spot, and I don't blame her.
Daughter of Claiborne sire Flatter getting into the winner's circle here in race number 7. Cartwheel with Jose Lezcano for Mark Hennig, who you just heard from there. 7-2 and beating a 4-5 favorite as well in doing so. That could play big in the Naira Bets late pick 5. Rushing Fall, the 6-horse in our next race, the Grade 2 Lake Placid. She is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf Champion. She is coming off the first defeat of her career in 5 starts. Can she get back on track? She was narrowly defeated in the Edgewood last time out on May the 4th. That is coming up next. And also the story of a dream come true in the Alabamas. We look back at Princess of Sylmar. That's coming up next.
I remember my son Randy saying, "Dad, she's number one." She's number one in the world. My God, how'd that happen?
His record-breaking accomplishments on the racetrack paved his way here to the Stall of Legends. Now retired to stud, we welcome the dawning of a new era as this esteemed champion hopes to stake his claim to immortality. His blazing speed and striking good looks have been passed down to his remarkable first foals. Foals that will carry the flag of their famous father and one day hope to break records of their own. Medication-free and undefeated in sprint competition. Run happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
They're off. Bet the horses anywhere, anytime with Naira Bets.
Rushes out of there to take the lead.
It's easy on your computer or Naira Bets app. Earn valuable reward points on bets. Play in our exclusive promotions and earn cash rebates.
Off the turn with a length and a half lead.
Sign up now. Bet $200 and get $200. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. NairaBets.com.
Back on Saratoga Live, race 7 in the books. Cartwheel. Getting the job done. Jose Lizcano, Mark Hennig, William Parsons, your winning connections, $9.40 for the victory. Look at that, pick 3. $1,375. We had a 6-to-1 shot first timer winning back in race 6 and a 20-to-1 shot back in race number 5, a result of that massive number. Winning at Saratoga is always special. Winning the Grade 1 Alabama, the premier race of the meet for 3-year-old fillies. Well, for Ed Stanko and his family, the owners and breeders of Princess of Sylmar, that was a dream come true.
Princess of Sylmar.
We call the house that Princess built every day we walk in. It all comes back every single day. Storm Dixie's first race was here at Saratoga, and that was the only race she ever won. 1 for 10. We got her appraised for about $20,000. I said, Todd, I think we're going to breed her. We have nothing to lose. We're not breeders. We're not commercial breeders. What else are we going to do? The markets are low. And so we decided to breed her. We found the ideal candidate for her was to go to Grand Slam. I'm in the office back in New Jersey, and I get a call. 8 o'clock in the morning, Ed, we have a problem. Grand Slam got kicked the night before, has no interest in your mare. None. I go, well, what do I do? They said, well, we've got this young one, Majestic Warrior. Don't worry, he'll be good. I said, but he's a freshman sire. There's no numbers. I said, how long do I have to decide? I got to call my partners. You got about 10 minutes. I said, well, why don't we just do it? She's born on Sylmar Farm, and then it came time to name her. We couldn't come up with a name. Why don't we name her Princess Sylmar? So Ronnie Houghton says to Betsy Houghton, how can you name her that? My God, what if she's not good? She went up to Todd in June of 2012 as a 2-year-old. I said, Todd, she's a PA bred, let's teach her to win. That's what they said in the Seabiscuit movie. What did I know? The first horse I ever bred, let's teach her to win.
There's 70 yards to go, and Princess of Sylmar has won it handily.
We brought her up to New York, and we went in an allowance race in December. She won by 7 lengths. And before I got out of the parking lot, I started getting the offers. It was unbelievable. Then we went on, we won the Busanda, and she won that by another 5 lengths. The offer for her at the time was $500,000. I just didn't even think about it. And then Todd called back the next day and said, now they want to offer you $600,000 for her. And I said, Todd, it sounds like a pretty good deal. And Todd said, if she can stay healthy and she goes on to win a big race, and I think she can, will you be able to live with that the rest of your life? And I said, forget it, we're never going to sell her. Close hatches beat us in the Gazelle. Princess came in, I think lost by about 3 lengths. I said, well, I don't think we should look at Kentucky Oaks. Todd said, no, we'll ship her. You know, a horse like this, that's what you do. You go to Kentucky, we'll ship her, and we'll see what we think. So now we're down in the paddock, it's race time. She's 38-1, and I go, Todd, do we really belong here? Todd goes, Ed, there's going to be speed. She comes from behind. We'll be okay.
Princess of Sylmar and Mike Smith with a huge upset chance on the far outside. They're coming to the finish, and Princess of Sylmar has pulled off a shocker in the Kentucky Oaks.
The adrenaline rush is so high that we couldn't remember how we got from the stands to the winner's circle. The only thing I can remember is at 38-1, when you win a race like that, there aren't a lot of people cheering except for your group. Our target race was always the Alabama. That's the race I wanted. That's the one that I thought was really the best race of all fillies, going the 1.25 miles. I mean, that's big time stuff.
And they're off in the Alabama.
They're out the half pole, and Tom says, well, Princess has yet to do any running yet. And then coming around the turn, Tom Durkin goes, you know, here she goes, pick them off, 1, 2, 3. And the place exploded.
They're coming down to the line. Princess of Sylmar ran like a champion this afternoon.
It was incredible. I tell people, you get a glimpse of perfection. You know, my whole dream since I was 8 was to saddle a horse at Saratoga, and then to go on and do this. It makes you humble. I remember my son Randy saying, Dad, she's #1. She's #1 in the world. My God, how'd that happen?
Oh, an incredible story, and there's a look at the Stankos. They are out here every day of this meet. There's Ed and his family taking things in. Look at the year that she had in 2013. She won the Busanda, the Busher, the Kentucky Oaks, Coaching Club American Oaks, Alabama Double, and the Beldame, and wasn't able to get divisional honors because there was another filly named Beholder that year.
Oh, yeah. You know what? The beauty of that story is every horse has a story to tell with the owners. And if you wonder why people fall in love with this sport and how majestic it is and how athletic it is, it's also the story behind the horse. I mean, I did not know that story. I just fell in love with Princess of Sylmar just now.
Absolutely. And they love this game, their entire family.
Got to meet with you. Yeah, great people.
Absolutely. Well, and one of the great stories in Alabama history. We've seen some tremendous fillies win this race over the years. That's one of the great stories, obviously. We saw Songbird. Mike Smith has had a lot of success in this race. He's trying to win another one here this afternoon on Midnight Bijou, the 7-5 morning line favorite. First things first, though, we have the Lake Placid up next at 1 1/8 miles on the turf. Lake Placid out in the Adirondack Mountains with a rich history, of course, in the Olympics and what was accomplished there. Not that long ago. I got to make that trip up there one of these days.
I've been there. It's beautiful. And the road takes you right by the ski jump. And you realize those guys are fearless.
Well, Lake Placid coming up. Rushing Fall. Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf Champion, coming off the first defeat of her career. She was beat a neck in the Grade 3 Edgewood, trying to get back on track. We thought we'd see her actually earlier in the meet, but she spiked a fever. So instead, we see her now for the first time.
Rushing Fall, her performance in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile was phenomenal. Best in class by far. I'm waiting for her to show me that at 3. Still waiting.
Well, let's take a look at significant form. This was back at the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies as well. She wound up 4th in this race, beat 2.5 lengths.
Yeah, and Rushing Fall is going to get the best of her here. The thing that's interesting about significant form of the 4 is she really came to the top of the stretch with a head of steam, but couldn't seal the deal. Meanwhile, Rushing Fall, you see there, is going to draw off from what is the best 2-year-olds in the nation and perhaps the world that came in for the Breeders' Cup this past fall.
Oh, how about that? It's just youngsters, 2-year-old fillies. Chad Brown running 1st and 4th there in that race, and with that wide trip, significant form, winding up, beat just 2.5 lengths. She came back to win significant form her 3-year-old debut very impressively at Aqueduct, trying to get back in the winner's circle for the first time. As you get a look at Chad Brown just crossing over in the screen, leading trainer here at the meet. He has two very talented 3-year-old fillies.
He has 2 talented 3-year-old fillies, but it's not just those. This is a really, really good race, Greg. When you look at significant form right there, the gray horse, again, she's going to be coming from 1.25 miles in the Belmont Oaks, and now she'll go to 1.1 miles. I think it gives her a little bit of help. I don't think she wanted to go that far. But here we are talking about 2 Chad Brown horses. We got a lot of others in this race that are certainly possibilities to consider.
Quality top to bottom, but it is that man right there, our reigning Eclipse Award winning trainer and the leading trainer at the meet, Chad Brown. He's got 2 very good fillies coming up in the Lake Placid.
This 3-time Breeders' Stakes winning millionaire defeated 20 Grade 1 winners. In the Dixie Stakes, he defeated Canadian champion and Horse of the Year Up with the Birds and set a new course record at Saratoga. Now the excitement is building as his first foals have arrived this year. Half to 4 graded stakes winners, Ironicus has the speed, class, and bloodlines to become the next great sire by Distorted Humor. Ironicus standing at Claiborne Farm.
How do New York breds perform? They win in world-class company. From Grade 1 races in Dubai, where New York-sired, New York bred Mind Your Biscuits won the Golden Shaheen for a 2nd time, to Belmont adding to his status as the richest New York bred with a close 2nd in the Met Mile. The Belmont Festival saw 2 more New York breds become millionaires. 4-star Crook in the New York Stakes and world record setter Disco Partner with a repeat victory in the Jaipur. New York breds, get with the program.
And they're coming down to the final furlong with Curtana coming and Katara on the far outside. Shared Account, followed by Curtana and Katara as they come down to the finish. And it will be Shared Account, who won it by a length.
Shared Account, one of a number of Breeders' Cup winners you're going to see at Saratoga every year. She went on to win the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf later in her career. We've got a Breeders' Cup 2-year-old winner in here, Rushing Fall. It's a beautiful day here, Paul, in Saratoga, and the way I am, Grand Motion train shared account, he's got the way I am. And I'll tell you something about this horse, Paul. Since coming to America, she has one bad race. Every other race she's ever run has been good.
You're right. And the one bad race was at Del Mar and the Jimmy Durante on the way outside. And when you get that post position, you're somewhat dead. And that race, racetrack is rock hard. So she might like a little give in the ground, and she's going to cut back from the Belmont on Oaks Inn, where she ran a decent second, and Grand Motion got off the duck today. He got his win.
She's a major player, Paul, and it's nice to see Graham got that win. What is a very, very competitive race, including the Breeders' Cup two-year-old filly, juvenile turf winner. Maggie Wolfendale's in the paddock. Let's hear from her.
Thanks, Andy. And as always, this paddock report brought to you by Hillendale Farm is the way I am. I'm hoping Grand Motion can continue his winning ways here today. This filly looks sensational, and she's just always up for it. She's always up for a fight, always up to put her best foot forward. And as I actually caught up with Michael Dubb earlier on in the day when he had a winner in the earlier races, and he said, you know, this filly just likes to run towards the inside of horses. She doesn't mind it. So I would have to think that being posted on the rail is a good thing for the way I am, and she represents herself so well here in the paddock. Now, number 6 is Rushing Fall. As you heard Andy say, the Breeders' Cup filly and mare juvenile turf winner of yesteryear, and she's been away. You know, there's been some issues that have kept her away from the racetrack, including an illness, but you wouldn't know that when you look at her here. As far as her coat is concerned, which is usually the telltale sign of how a horse is doing, she's dabbled head to toe. It's so rich, so has that nice luster to it, and she comes in here extremely fit. Now, the one problem I do have with her, though, is that she's never really taken that proverbial step forward physically from 2 to 3, and yes, one of her losses, which was narrowly by a neck to Toinette, who's a talented runner, did come as a 3-year-old. So we'll see, is she as good as she was last year here, Andy?
Well, you know, I think Rushing Fall is very, very good. I'll tell you one thing that's funny about her, and we'll talk about some others. Her owner, Bob Edwards, who may have the Travers favorite next week in Good Magic, has never won a race in Saratoga. Wow. She has a stablemate in the 4 Significant Form, Paul. I think this horse is going to really appreciate cutting back a furlong from the 1.25-mile race last time out in the Belmont Oaks, and I think her race 2 back is better than it looks. I think she is a major overlay Significant Form at 5-1.
Yeah, you and I were sitting right in the same spot for her debut when she won, so we already know she likes this racetrack, and she ran into a paceless race and passed that field. Cool Beans has come back to be a pretty good horse, right? We saw her win the other day. I'm with you to the point where maybe Significant Storm might like a little give in the ground where Rushing Fall might not.
She's handled give in the ground.
Yeah,
Rushing,
she has.
Rushing Fall.
She handled that soft turf course at Keeneland. But again, when a horse is sick and you miss a little bit of training, there are a little bit of question marks.
No, I think that's the biggest question. I actually think she's much better as 3 so far. I think both of her races are excellent. Just been tough circumstance for her. I don't think the soft turf will be a problem. The 2 Daddy is a legend. It's a very good horse. I'm not going to knock her. But I think she's better going less, 1 mile to 1 mile and 1/16. And let's be honest, her Lake George, she got a great ride, a perfect trip, and she beat a horse, Altea, who came back as a very favorite allowance race, ran a mediocre 3rd the other day, Paul. That can't be a good sign.
It's not a good sign, and it makes you have trepidation with this too. But then when you start looking at her PPs, you see hit gate, off slow, steady, broken tangle. They take the blinkers off. Seems like the last 3 times she's starting to get it now at the gate, and she's pretty tough. So I think she might run a big race today.
The reality is that there are a lot of layers to this field. You look to the field, and even if you say, like, the 5 Go Nani Go isn't good enough to beat these, but we're talking about pace, and I'll send it back to the guys upstairs. Go Nani Go is going to be on a loose lead in this race. She may not be good enough on paper, but her chances may be enhanced, guys, by the way the race is run.
I'm not even sure she's not good enough on paper.
Well, and here's the other thing. She is going to be on the lead. Go, Nanny, go. And it's going to compromise a lot of these horses like come from further back. Look, there's a bunch of contenders in here, but when you look at the 1, The Way I Am, the 2, Daddy is a Legend, the 3, Capla Temperance, who these all have a good chance, as well as the 7. They need some pace up front. And if the 5 doesn't provide it, it's going to be a race that's going to be for the middle sitters or horses close to the pace more than those.
You can earn a 10% bonus on your Lake Placid Stakes trifecta if you bet it on the NyraBets app with a $1-based bet. NyraBets has a bonus on a selected Saratoga Stakes race every day of the meet, so visit nyrabets.com for the full schedule. As we hear the call to post, we have a yielding turf course we're dealing with too, and maybe what about someone like Capla Temptress? We know she likes a turf course with a little give in it. She certainly liked that over in Europe.
Oh, yeah, no question. I mean, there are a lot of ways to go in this race, but I do think pace is going to be something that's going to dependent on how well these horses go.
Host Parade brought to you by OCD Pellets, celebrating their 10th anniversary of supporting the equine industry with their 2-in-1 bone and joint supplement. For more information, visit OCDpellets.com. Here's the way I am for Graham Motion.
She just keeps on improving race by race. Has not missed the exacta so far this year. I think this filly's got a big shot.
Daddy is a legend. She just won on this turf course, Lake George, back on July 20th.
She's had the blinkers off for her last 2 starts. She's responded very well. I believe this is a step up from the Lake George, though.
Capla Temper, she competed against Rushing Fall in significant form in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, excuse me.
You might have something here, Greg. If you look, she's traveled an awful lot around the whole world, and she finally gets to stay in one place. Maybe that could help her today.
Significant form, 1 of 2 for Chad Brown. Irad Ortiz Jr. aboard.
Yeah, I think she'll appreciate the cutback to 1 1/8. She's a horse that always looks good turning for home.
Go, Nani, go. It's a rider change. Luis Saez will be aboard for trainer Mike Maker.
Yeah, this one's going to be the one to catch the filly by Get Stormy, and it's going to have to probably catch him by surprise.
Rushing Fall, Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf winner, coming off the first defeat of her career.
She ran such a good race in the Breeders' Cup last year. I really think she gets back to form today. Maybe just gets away from this group entirely at the end.
And Andina Del Sur, trained by Tom Albertrani, Jose Ortiz rides at 20-1.
If we're going to buy that there's truly give in the ground, which we do think, the damn Andina loved a lot of give in the ground. I think this is your long shot play. That good ground that was labeled in the suite at Gulfstream Park was not yielding. The 7 might love it at 20-1.
Get signed up, get started, play along with Naira Bets. The promo code is Saratoga Live. You'll get $200 in your account. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. There is the 2-year-old Breeders' Cup Turf champion for the fillies in here, daughter of More Than Ready. And let's talk about that Edgewood for a moment. She was basically on the lead in that race. We'd never seen her that close at any point in her career.
So that may play well today. If Go Nanny Go, the 5-horse Go Noni Go, makes the lead in here, I think it's going to be important to have closeness to her to run your best race. Rushing Fall is one of those horses that can be placed well early.
Just missed by a neck in that Grade 3 Edgewood. She does have that win on a yielding turf at Keeneland as well in the Appalachian. 7-5 on the board right now.
I want to ask Tom a question, saying that he thinks Rushing Fall will be closer, and I'm not going to argue that. My feeling in this race actually was that Rushing Fall may be a little bit better if she gets to relax more early. Obviously, she got engaged last time with Daddy is a Legend, who got a very aggressive ride, and ultimately that cost the race. I believe, A, she's run better in both the races as a 3-year-old than she ever ran as a 2-year-old. They're both improved efforts, but I'm thinking she's going to be better here if she can sit 4 or 5 lengths off of it. Do you disagree?
I disagree with you saying that her 3-year-old races are better than her 2-year-old races.
They're faster.
By whose standard? Yours?
Buyer speed figures?
Oh, buyer speed figures.
Timeform US
Come on,
speed
man.
figures?
Let's get in the... It's 2018. Can we please, get away from the buyer speed figures?
No, I think the buyer speed
a little
figures
bit more
are
sophisticated
very accurate. No, I think they're a very accurate way to measure them.
I'm not going to argue with you on whether or not she's going to run good today, because I think she's going to run a good race. But she needs to get back to that 2-year-old form, Andy.
I disagree. I think she's been improved as a 3-year-old. I think the biggest concern with her is actually whether or not she can bounce back from having missed the Lake George and being sick and not running in 3.5 months.
Fair point. I do agree with that.
Let me ask you that real quick here. So as a horse spikes a fever, obviously every case is different to an individual horse, but what can it mean?
Well, I mean, it's dependent on so many things. How long did the fever last? How much training did they miss? How quickly did she get back in her feed tub? Look, she's got a good bright coat today. She's obviously rebounded from that. Fitness-wise, if she only missed a few days, she's been back in training. We see some works there. Recency, a black letter work, which is the fastest of the day at that distance. I think that that's a non-factor, but Andy makes what I think is a good point. If she doesn't run well, could it be related to that? Yeah. Is there evidence that that's the case? Not out of this barn. Those guys don't run unless they're ready to go.
You saw her stablemate there, significant form. What would you say, has she progressed at all from 2 to 3?
Well, I've watched all of her replays, and I know I'm going to get some pushback from downstairs, but this is a horse, when she comes to the head of the lane, looks like she's going to just explode, and she never does. So distance to me is a question mark. Obviously, at 1.25 miles, an eighth of a mile more, that comes into play. But even at the shorter distance races, I'm looking for a horse to really kick in, and I did not see that in the Wonder Again.
Yeah, no, you know, I'm not gonna wildly disagree with that, Tom. I think that's a very fair assumption. She's a horse who is not finished. Now, to be fair, the La Signori raised two things. The pace was very moderate. Pace was actually a little bit faster than it shows. The times are a little bit inaccurate there. But forgetting about that, they obviously can go 22 and 4 around a turn in the fourth quarter of that race. But the point is, she hasn't finished up. La Signori is pretty good, but she has run much faster on the Buyer's Fee figures, which you may not agree with, but I actually do believe in, and she is a much better horse this year. I think she'll run very well today, but I think she does have to answer that 1 1/8 mile question. Maybe less distance ultimately would be better.
We're taking a look at The Way I Am. Trainer Graham Motion finally got his first win of the meet. That was in the opener on today's card. Archer the Diver winning off about a 2-year layoff to get the job done. Can he get another one here? The Way I Am on the board at 7-2. Let's go to Gabby Gaudet for more.
Well, we will definitely see if that is possible here, but The Way I Am looking fantastic on track today. But Graham, she has had 6 races this year, but she just looks like she continues to progress. How tough is this filly?
Yeah, I mean, she's remarkable, and she hates to get beat. So, look, she's kind of become a barn favorite. She tries every time. She's gone from running a mile at Gulfstream on very firm turf to running 1.25 miles last time at Belmont. So she seems like she handles anything we throw at her.
Talking about handling things, how do you think that she might handle some given the ground today?
I mean, look, she handled it at Keeneland. I think this is going to be a little different today. I really think it's going to come down to the trip and who handles the going today. It's got to be pretty soft.
Do you like the fact that she's inside?
Yeah, I do. I like that.
And in terms of how the race is run, I mean, there's a little bit of pace in here coming from the 5 Go Nani Go, but do you find that she is a filly that just kind of creates her own trip?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I always thought at Gulfstream she did so well because she was so agile. You know, you really have to move quickly at Gulfstream when the gap's open. So, look, I'm going to leave it to Johnny. He's ridden her once now. There's a little bit of pace. She's a one-run filly, so I'm going to leave it up to him.
All right. Well, best of luck here, Graham.
Thank you.
The Way I Am, he sends out in the Lake Placid, Greg.
All right, thank you very much. We'll see. He's second at 1 mile back at Penn National, and then second at 1.25 miles. Maybe 1.1 miles. It's just perfect for this filly.
She didn't have the best of trips last time. She had to sit behind significant form against the rail and wait to make her move. It's a better race than what it appears on paper.
We're going to send it downstairs to Paul. I felt like I was reliving Moneyball for a moment. Andy's the old scout, and Tom was introducing analytics.
Yeah, right. Until everybody admits that they had the best pitching staff in the world, I'll never go see that movie with Tim Hudson, Mark Mulder, and Barry Zito. I won't read it because it has nothing to do with that. Those are the 3 best pitchers in the game.
They were good.
Okay. I like the one because the reason, you know, Graham said it at the end of that. He's a one-run type of horse. So to me, I think the horse is going to sit in a great spot and can grind. Doesn't have that unbelievable punch. Tom, you talk about the 4 Significant Storm, sort of lingers at the top of the lane. I think the 1 does that a little bit more, but has a little bit more punch. But you heard Graham say, sort of has that 1 run. I'm hoping that Johnny V sends out of there because the 2 and the 3 are not fast at all.
Well, 5-1 on Significant Form. The other Chad Brown filly. With more, let's go to Maggie Wolfendale.
Thanks, guys. As we'll check in with, yes, the other Chad Brown horse and number 4, Significant Form. In regards to her warm-up beneath Irad Ortiz, Irad is a guy who typically takes the horses away from the pony. He did not do that with Significant Form, who is a filly who does possess some early, if not tactical speed. Since they've been kind of walking around here in a circle, she's gotten a little more on her toes. We see Irad with his feet out of the iron. So it's either they're trying to conserve this energy or they're trying to see if a target will go out in front of them. As a horse who did get an aggressive warm-up is number 3, Capla Temptress. She certainly has her frequent flyer miles, that's for sure. She'll go out here for Bill Mott. And she got a nice warm-up beneath Julien Le Peru. And I liked what I had seen from her. And furthermore, guys, she's one that has some proven turf form over courses that have a lot of give in them.
Yeah, thanks, Maggie. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. With the condition of this turf course that's yielding right now, you would think of anybody in this field. I know Paul mentioned the 7 a little bit as well, and Dina Del Sur, but Capla Temptress, the 3, certainly going to move up on this turf condition.
Look, no question, and they're both contenders, but I think a lot of this, again, is dependent on whether those 2 horses, the 3 and the 7, get enough of a setup to give them their late kick, which they like to use.
Right now, 8-1 on Caplet Temptress, and she has been all over. As Maggie mentioned, a lot of frequent flyer miles, traveling all over the world, including to the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar, where she went against Rushing Fall and Significant Form. So some familiar faces going at each other once again. As we take a look at the two there, Daddy is a Legend. You know, she had a win here on this turf course in the Lake George. She got a pretty good trip to get that win, though, as well, but you can't discount the fact that she got it done.
Look, I think this race is a tougher race for Daddy's a Legend, but there's a lot to be said about confidence. A race like the Lake George, which she won by 2 and was actually gradually getting away from the field at the end, does a lot for her confidence. So Daddy is a Legend, although stepping up, has really done well with the blinkers off in her last 2 starts. There's no surprise there if she comes in and wins today.
She has faced Rushing Fall 3 prior times, the 2 Daddy is a Legend. She has never finished in front of her. Could today be the day, coming off a victory on this turf course on opening day of the meet? We will find out. But the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf Champion, Rushing Fall, she remains the favorite, trying to bounce back after the first defeat of her career in 5 starts. The 6-horse Rushing Fall, our favorite at 6-5 on the board. Let's send it upstairs for the call of the Lake Placid to Larry Colmus.
And here comes the favorite Rushing Fall up to the starting gate under Javier Castellano. And Dina Del Sur will be the last one in to complete this field of 7. And the Lake Placid still waiting for Rushing Fall to take her spot in line. She continues to be favored here at odds of 6-5 as the gate crew works on getting her to go into the starting gate. And there she goes. Just one left to load here, and Dina Del Sur will take the outside stall under Jose Ortiz and will be ready for the start here. They're all in line. They're off in the Lake Placid. And it's Go Noni Go out for the lead, and Rushing Fall is right after her early on. These two out to the front together with Significant Form right behind them. Then Andina Del Sur and Daddy is a Legend. Caplet Temptress is next, and The Way I Am trails the field as they make their way into that first turn, where the leader is Go Noni Go. And running back in second is Rushing Fall, and she's sitting about 1 3/4 lengths off the lead. And Dina Del Sur is third after 25.29. Opening quarter mile over the yield and going. Then Significant Form, Daddy is a Legend on the outside, Caplet Temptress, and The Way I Am at the back of the field. On to the backstretch here in the Lake Placid, and Go Noni Go, a long shot leader here, on top by almost 2 over the favorite Rushing Fall. And Dina Del Sur tracks in third. Daddy is a Legend is fourth. Significant Form is down on the inside. Now 4.5 lengths off the lead, just ahead of Caplet Temptress and The Way I Am. The half was 50.2. So they make their way into the far turn here. Go Noni Go continues to lead them. Javier Castellano has Rushing Fall 1.5 lengths behind, continues to go smoothly. And Dina Del Sur is third. Daddy is a Legend is in between horses. Now on the inside comes Significant Form, and she's just 2.5 lengths behind in a tight pack. Caplet Temptress is next in The Way I Am. And Rushing Fall makes her move for the lead as they come toward the top of the stretch. Going by Go Noni Go, and Dina Del Sur comes wide. Daddy is a Legend. Caplet Temptress on the far outside. Significant Form behind a wall of horses with a furlong to run. Rushing Fall in front. Rushing Fall's got a 3-length lead. Caplet Temptress is taken second on the outside. Daddy is a Legend is third. Significant Form and Andina Del Sur. No match for Rushing Fall. Rushing Fall wins the Lake Placid by 3 over Caplet Temptress. Daddy is a Legend was third, and Dina Del Sur was fourth in 151.86.
The champ is back to her winning ways, and you saw her trainer Chad Brown there pleased with the performance. Rushing Fall, now 5 wins and 6 career starts.
We talked about it a great deal pre-race, all of us did, about what was going to happen in the way of pace and how we didn't see a lot of it and how position was going to mean everything. Rushing Fall sat right off the pace setter. She makes the lead right here, turn it for home, Greg. Look at the rider's hands. He hasn't even asked her yet, and she's already on the lead. It's show over at this point.
This was an absolute joke. I mean, Caplet Temptress actually ran extremely well, and everybody's right that she did like the going. But Rushing Fall, I got to say, Paul, I think she was running in a completely different race than every horse in the race. And Bob Edwards finally gets the winner's circle in Saratoga.
Yeah, congratulations to him. And you're right, she just decimated this field. Castellano gave the horse a perfect ride. It's a great call by Tom, knowing that, she was just going to sit in that good spot. Good call by Greg to round out that exacta. Nobody else did any kind of running. She's just a nice filly. And I'll tell you what, for somebody that had a temperature and missed training, she might be better in her next start.
So Rushing Fall, this is a big effort here to get the job done and get back in the winner's circle. Pretty amazing, these connections who have had the Midas touch with seemingly everything. They haven't been in the game that long. Bob Edwards and E5 Racing, first win at Saratoga. So a very nice moment there as you see Chad Brown making his way to the winner's circle. Let's go downstairs to Maggie.
And here with winning rider Javier Castellano right next to Rushing Fall. Javi, she dominated today. That was quite a performance.
She really did, Maggie. I think the horse, he doing phenomenal. I think Mr. Brown, he did a really good job with the horse. Takes some time. I think it's time he paid the price today.
And a filly that you've been on throughout her career. And talk a little bit about her progression. I mean, she was good last year. She almost seemed even better today.
Absolutely, the way she does perform today, it was amazing. Gallop along, just to wait for the horses. When turn for horn asking, she responded so well. I'm very satisfied the way she did it today. I'm very happy for Mr. Edward. But Edward, this is his first win in Saratoga. I'm so happy. That's a great honor. And he always supported our industry and horse races. But best of luck for him. I wish you all the best. Congratulations.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth there, Javier. Congratulations to you, too. She is certainly a special filly.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Guys, and as Javier noted, I mean, just a epic day for owner Bob Edwards and E5 Racing, one of the nicest guys that we have in this sport.
They've been tremendous for this sport. It was here at Saratoga, here on vacation with the family, took a tour of the barns. There happened to be a sale going on across the street, wound up going to the sale, immediately got into the game, bought some horses, and then all of a sudden they have Good Magic, 2-year-old champion. They have Rushing Fall, wins a Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. It's been unreal.
For some people, it just falls into place, doesn't it? The Midas touch.
So Bob Edwards, E5 Racing, getting their first Saratoga win. And for Chad Brown, just rolling right along. He has been having another outstanding meet here. The meet's leading trainer. It's going to be real hard to unseat him, even though we have a long way to go at this point.
Mother Nature's trying to unseat him, but it won't happen. I mean, he's got so many good turf horses. So many of these races are being taken off the grass. He's still dominant. There's Bob Edwards.
There we go. Nice little bow tie, dressed for the occasion, and a Grade 2 victory for your first win here at Saratoga. Well done, doing it in style. And so now you see Rushing Fall. I think we certainly say she took a step forward this afternoon.
Yeah, whether or not you think she was better at 2 or not, she definitely stepped forward today. But this race had the look of her Breeders' Cup race, dominating her competition and the best of the best. So Rushing Fall, I think, jumps to the head of the class as far as 3-year-old turf fillies goes.
Wins at 6-5. Javier Castellano against Chad Brown and E5 Racing Thoroughbreds. Winning connections here of the Grade 2 Lake Placid. And a nice moment for those two with a very talented filly who's now 5 for 6 in her career. Still to come, premier race of the meet for 3-year-old fillies, the Grade 1 Alabama. And there's Midnight Bisou. Sensational, winning the Grade 2 Mother Goose back at Belmont at the end of June. Was no match for Monomoy Girl, but she is the standout and the one to beat coming up.
Grade 1 winner Lee traveled the world competing against the best of his generation. A graded stakes winner on both dirt and turf, he set a new track record in the Grade 1 Don Handicap and retired with earnings of more than $2.3 million. Now his flashy first crop yearlings are turning heads with a striking resemblance to their internationally successful sire. The sky's the limit for this promising young stallion. Lee, standing at Claiborne Farm.
They're off. Bet the horses anywhere, anytime with Naira Bets.
Rushes out of there to take the lead.
It's easy on your computer or Naira Bets app. Earn valuable reward points on bets. Play in our exclusive promotions and earn cash rebates.
Off the turn with a link to the half lead.
Sign up now. Bet $200 and get $200.
The dramatic finish.
Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. NyraBets.com.
How do New York breds perform? They win in world-class company. From Grade 1 races in Dubai, where New York-sired, New York bred Mind Your Biscuits won the Golden Shaheen for a second time, to Belmont adding to his status as the richest New York bred with a close second in the Met Mile. The Belmont Festival saw 2 more New York breds become millionaires, 4-star Crook in the New York Stakes, and world record setter Disco Partner with a repeat victory in the Jaipur. New York breds, get with the program.
Back on Saratoga Live, it is Lustgarten Foundation Day. Saratoga honoring the legacy of trainer Dominic Galusio, passed away back in 2014. It's a day to benefit the foundation, nonprofit that's dedicated to fundraising for pancreatic cancer research. The day featuring autograph session with various Saratoga trainers happened earlier today. And of course, the Triple Crown Trophy was on display this afternoon as well that benefited the Lustgarten Foundation. That was commissioned by President and CEO of the New York Racing Association, Chris Kay, and it is a beautiful trophy, and we got to put it to use this year. It was created by Roberto Santo. Of course, Justify, completing that Triple Crown since retired. Into the winner's circle. In the Great 2 Lake Placid, Rushing Fall winning for E5 Racing Thoroughbreds and Chad Brown.
Yeah, she's a runner all together. Look, she's having a little trouble going in the winner's circle. That's simply because there's a little surface change underneath her. She's a little shy about that. She likes the grass better than she likes that hard cement down there.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see her move surfaces anytime soon, the way she's handling that right there. Rushing Fall, 5 wins now from 6 career starts. She is all class. Daughter of More Than Ready has been sensational in career. The only thing that's kept her perfect to this point, a neck defeat in the Grade 3 Edgewood. But she gets back on track here this afternoon as we now take a look at the Nyra Bets Late Pick 5 follow-along here on Alabama Day with 2 races still to come. There's Rushing Fall heading back to the barn. $243,000 in the pool. Code of Honor started things off. That's been the biggest price we have had today. $15 winner, the first timer for Shug McGahee. And now a favorite getting the job done. Let's go downstairs to Gabby Gaudet.
Well, Greg here in the winner's circle with Bob Edwards, obviously with E5 Thoroughbred Racing. And Bob, wow, what a performance we saw from Rushing Fall today. But she obviously had a scratch out of the Lake George a few weeks ago due to her fever. This seemed worth the wait.
Absolutely. As you know, this is our first win all time here in Saratoga. Super excited. We won it in typical E5 fashion with a graded stakes win. She ran great. Javier just did a Hall of Fame ride on her. You know, he knows the horse well. He's breezed her the last few weeks, and, you know, everybody thinks highly of her. You know, Chad was kind of back and forth, but really no other spots to run her in. Thank goodness the turf kind of lasted, and she can run on, little softer turf, and it worked out for us.
Well, you guys have had so much success since you've gotten into this industry. Where does a win at Saratoga kind of fall on the ladder of achievements?
My wife's from Saratoga, and she was at Pinkerton, and our whole family's here. And I mean, this is a special place, as you know, and it's very difficult to win here. You know, we've won everywhere else. We haven't won here, so to win here is very special.
And you have the E5 Racing bow tie to celebrate it, right?
E5 Racing bow tie to celebrate, absolutely.
Always a very dapper man for sure, but congratulations on this huge victory with Rushing Fall.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, guys.
All right, Greg, back to you.
He truly has had the Midas touch here with his runners. In this race, it's got to feel good, obviously, to win at Saratoga, because this is kind of where it all started for him, where he got the bug and decided to get into this game. But it has just been amazing, the success that he's had. 2-year-old champion with good magic, who, of course, came back when the Haskell. We could see him again. That's going to be the horse who's favored next weekend for the boys in the Travers.
Not just the boys. Don't forget Wonder Godot in that race. We'll challenge the boys. But, yeah, I think the favorite for sure, Good Magic, who rebounded really well in the Haskell with a very, very easy victory.
Well, the 3-year-old fillies taking their turn today. That is the Alabama coming up next. One of the most prestigious races in the entire country. And Midnight Bijou. 7-5, morning line favorite, opens up at that price, and Mike Smith in from the West Coast to ride.
Can't get anybody better when the money's down. You want Mike Smith in the irons. He certainly knows this filly. He's been riding her those past few times, but the 1.25 miles, we're going to talk a lot about that, Greg. I've got some thoughts.
Well, we always talk about it come Derby time, who can get the distance. Now fillies tackling this 1.25 mile question, likely for the first and only time in their career. Mike Smith showing up at the racetrack earlier today. He is a popular man in these parts with all that he has accomplished. Of course, he's won this race on several occasions, including 2 years ago with a great Songbird. Can he do it again? We will find out when we come back.
They're off. Bet the horses anywhere, anytime with Naira Bets.
Rushes out of there to take the lead.
It's easy on your computer or Naira Bets app. Earn valuable reward points on bets, play in our exclusive promotions, and earn cash rebates.
Off the turn with a length and a half lead.
Sign up now. Bet $200 and get $200. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. NairaBets.com.
Mastery retired undefeated, winning his 4 starts by a combined 20 lengths. A 6-figure September sale purchase, he won impressively in his 2-year-old debut at Santa Anita. From there, he captured the Grade 3 Bob Hope Stakes and completed his juvenile campaign with a dominant performance in the Grade 1 Los Alamitos Futurity. At 3, the top-rated son of Candy Ride sizzled in the San Felipe, running a 105 buyer and winning by open lengths. Mastery, new for 2018 at Claiborne Farm.
Mike Smith just shakes the reins, and Songbird, going for broke, has made progress up into second inside a family tree, but they're 6 lengths behind Songbird at the 16th pole. It is Songbird, this magnificent filly, winning the Alabama. She is a perfect 10.
Well, perfect 10 in reference to Songbird starting her career 10 for 10. Not many 3-year-old fillies have done that in the history of our sport. That was Mike Smith aboard that afternoon. He's trying to win his 6th coming up today.
Remarkable. I mean, when the money's down, I mean, there are a lot of good riders in this country, but Mike Smith is probably the best known rider outside of our sport to the general public. He wins the big races.
Songbird jostled, pretty discreet, Heavenly Prize, and back in 1993, Sky Beauty had a streak of 3 consecutive years when he won the Alabama, and now trying to win his 2nd in the last 3 years for the victory. Midnight Bisou, 7-5. Mike Smith will be aboard today. He flew in from the West Coast here, and this is a filly who, off the Kentucky Oaks, looked sensational winning the Grade 2 Mother Goose at Belmont.
Yeah, look, it did indeed. I'm not going to argue that, but that was a mile and a 16th going 1 turn. So what you're looking at here is not the same dynamics of a 1.25 mile 2-turn race. I think Midnight Bijou is a very, very good horse at these distances. At a 1.25 miles, I think she's vulnerable, and I think her temperament sometimes comes into play there. So I'm going to be real curious to see what Maggie Wolfendale has to say about her, not only in the paddock, but on the racetrack.
We'll keep an eye on how she's behaving herself. Of course, Jeff Bloom, majority owner, he was not here on Coaching Club American Oaks Day. He is here this afternoon, and he would love to see an Alabama victory. We're going to head downstairs now to Maggie Wolfendale, get her thoughts with the paddock report. It's brought to you by Hillendale Farm, now standing Curlin for $150,000.
Thank you, Greg. And I'm going to save Midnight Bisou for when she gets out on the track, because that's when I noticed when she started to lose her cool a little bit. But as Tom was talking about physicality, you know, you kind of have that type in your head as to who's going to handle a 1.25 miles. You want a big, scopy, rangy filly. Midnight Bisou doesn't quite fit that bill, but some other fillies that do include number 2, Eskimo Kisses, in here for trainer Ken McPeak, as she is 2nd off of a layoff. And I liked her last time when she showed up in the CCA Oaks, only to be 4th. And yeah, she is a filly that needs some pace to collapse. I don't know if she'll get that here today, but boy, does she look sensational. She's just that big, strong, strapping type, and she is very, very fit for her 2nd start off the bench. Now, Steve Asmussen will send out another horse by the name of She's a Julie, and she comes off a dominant win in the Iowa Oaks, as she is another one that's big, rangy, like just very strong. She looks more like a 3-year-old colt than she does a 3-year-old filly. So we'll see. I know Gabby is standing by with the rider of Steve's other horse in here. That is Midnight Bisou, and that is Mike Smith.
Thank you, Maggie. And Mike, talking about Midnight Bisou here, first time going 1.25 miles. What tells you that she can get the distance today?
Well, you know, she gives it her all. No one really knows, Gavin, until they actually run the 1.25 miles. You know, that extra 1/8 of a mile, for whatever reason, sometimes takes its toll on one. But she's always moving forward towards the end of the race, and she's just a hard trier. And if I can get her in a nice and happy and comfortable spot, I wouldn't see why she couldn't get the distance.
Talking about a nice, happy, and comfortable spot, where do you foresee her maybe sitting in the big picture of the race?
Probably mid-pack. You know, I'm faster than about 3 or 4 men there. The rest of them look quicker than her. So we'll take our time. We'll get away from there good. Let her get into a happy place, and we'll see where that's at.
Mike, best of luck.
Thank you.
All right, Andy, you heard it from Mike Smith, looking for his 6th victory in the Alabama.
Certainly comes to New York, wins a lot of big races. Talk Veuve de Me, my top choice in here. The horse who finished 4th to her in the Indiana Oaks, her last race, beaten over 11 lengths, just upset a decent field at 4-1 at Monmouth. That makes me even more confident over a horse who I believe will either be controlling speed or stalking the number 4, She's a Julie. They all have to answer the distance question. If she can do that, Paul, I believe she'll be in the winner's circle.
So you just heard from Mike Smith. Basically, I got to sit in mid-pack. So your selection, you're going to get first jump. You got to get into that position, whether you want to be on the front end or want to be in that comfortable stalking position. you should be able to. Coach Rocks has a tiny bit of speed. So does Figueroa's Queen, the 2 horses inside of you. There's not really many turtles in this race, as in early.
No,
There's some tactical horses in this race.
The pace could be quick. Keep in mind, a mile and a quarter, they actually start from near the top of the stretch, past the 8th pole. So there's plenty of time to get over. Post position, not significant the way it is in a mile and 1/8. Paul, I know you like Eskimo Kisses. We're looking at the one, though, Piedi Bianchi, a horse who appears to me on paper to be badly overmatched, though she was a good 2-year-old, and she maybe can improve off her return for Todd Pletcher.
She's been working okay for this race. I know the connections were going to go to the Indiana Oaks. It got washed off. That's why there was a work at Churchill Downs, and been working well. Now we get to the 2 Eskimo Kisses. You know, I think the mile and a quarter is up her alley, but is she good enough? That's the thing.
No, I think that's a great point. Mile and a quarter should be very good for her.
Yeah.
And distance can be the great equalizer. She's got to improve and maybe hope a couple of these take a step backwards. If I gave an Eclipse Award for the best ride of the year, it would be the ride Corey Lannery gave her to get 4th Kentucky Oaks. A brilliant ride. She needs to improve off the CCA Oaks. But you know what, guys? Maybe that race was a bit of a prep for this, even though she did finish behind, and it's hard to do. A Tom Amos horse.
Oh, yeah, that was Chocolate Martini, 3rd in the Coaching Club Oaks. Yeah, well, that was a good race for us, for sure. Grade 1 race, but Eskimo Kisses...
Real quick, before we move on, did you give consideration to this spot at all?
We did. We talked about it. We thought it was a little quick back, and she got a little cough last week, so we had to take care of that. That was enough to say, hey, we need to wait a little longer.
Well, here's a filly that you finished in front of in the Coaching Club American Oaks, but is Eskimo Kisses maybe one you would think would like a mile and a quarter?
Finished in front of her there, beat her in the Fairgrounds Oaks. She was 2nd, barely beaten by us. We won that race by a head. I look at this group, and I think that she is a notch below these. When I look at who else is in this race, she's not on my ticket.
There's a look at Mike Smith, about to get a leg up here. From trainer Steve Asmussen. Of course, this filly used to be with Bill Spar, moved to Steve Asmussen's barn, and immediately they said they came to her in such tremendous shape. They didn't have to do a whole lot with her when she did run in and win that Grade 2 Mother Goose.
Yeah, I like what Maggie said in the paddock. I'm going to save my comments. This is Maggie's quote for when she's on the track, because like Maggie, in the race that I was in with Chocolate Martini and her, which was just 3 weeks ago, I thought that she came very close to being over the top in terms of behavior when she got to the gate. So I'm real curious how our favorite is going to be when they head to the starting gate, Midnight Bijou.
We see Mike Smith be aggressive at some times. He was closer to the pace than usual in the last couple of starts here. Are we going to see him be aggressive today?
He doesn't show his hand before the race ever. So the interview he just gave to Gabby, that was kind of a subtle interview, but I don't think he's really telling what he's thinking. And there's not, I mean, look, I think the speed is the one horse in this race, coming off that 6-furlong race. And I think Mike Smith is actually very close to the pace in here.
6-5, trying to win a 6th. Alabama, the Hall of Famer. Mike Smith started his career in New York, was a fan favorite for so long, won so many big races here, and now he picks his spots when he comes back, and usually when he comes back, he's winning the biggest races on the card here.
Yeah, safe to say he picks his spots well, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And look at that crowd in the paddock. Everyone wanted to get a glimpse up close of these tremendous 3-year-old fillies. A win here. One of the most prestigious races there is, not just at the meet, but of the entire country. This race been being run for a long time. First edition took place all the way back in 1872. It is one of the oldest races for females in the United States. So making their way over to the main track here. Our post parade coming up here shortly. Now, you talk about pace, and you think the one's going to be there. Obviously, Tuck Vuvdemy on the outside. She showed she could be forwardly placed, and she ran very well in that Indiana Oaks last time out.
No doubt. Look, we run a lot of horses in Indiana. The amount of horse she had when they turned for home, I expected her to quicken and to be noticeable to the naked eye. That really didn't happen, and that makes me question whether she wants to go this far.
She, of course, is the 8th filly in this spot. You see her in the background there, Julian Leperoux, in those forest green and crimson silks with the dark shades on. Going to kick things off And the Grade 1 Alabama Post Parade here with Patti Bianchi, a 2016 Keeneland September sale graduate for Todd Pletcher with John Velasquez.
She is stretching out from 6 furlongs to 1.25 miles, but despite what Tom Amoss said, she won't be in the lead early.
21-1, stretching out. We'll see coming out of a 6 furlong sprint. Here's Eskimo Kisses for trainer Kenny McPeak with Jose Ortiz.
Yeah, this is the one filly that probably wished this race was run yesterday because the slop would have moved her up. But I still think she's got a look here at 6-1.
Mike Smith aboard for Steve Asmussen, a 2016 Keeneland September sale graduate. Midnight Bijou, the favorite.
She is the favorite. She is the horse to beat. She is the most accomplished runner in this field. I believe she's vulnerable, but she's good.
Her stablemate, another Steve Asmussen runner, 2016 Keeneland September sale graduate. She's a Julie coming off a Grade 3 win at the Iowa Oaks.
You know, getting ignored a little bit at the window, and you can argue that this filly by Elusive Quality is getting better and better with each start.
Huge step up in class here for Dallas Stewart's auspicious babe, Florence Giroux rides.
Much as I respect trainer Dallas Stewart, she may be the underlay of the year at her current 22-1 odds.
Figuerella's Queen, she chased Tunk Vuv to me in the Indiana Oaks. She's a 2016 Keeneland September sale graduate for Brad Cox.
If you draw a line through her Edgewood, she's really done nothing wrong. You could get a live long shot here at 15-1.
Dale Romans, he believes Coach Rocks could run big this afternoon. Luis Saez aboard the Daughter of Oxbow.
She's a talented and accomplished runner, but she's not fast enough to compete with these, though Dale Romans has won his share of big races.
And Rudolph Brissett trains Tunk Vuv to me, a 2016 Keeneland September sale graduate with Julien Leperoux in the irons.
Yeah, filly by Violence with a lot of class. She's lost to Monomoy Girl and Mia Mischief, who we saw the fight in Mia Mischief a couple weeks ago here at Saratoga. Deserving second choice.
That is a field for the Grade 1 Alabama. We're going to check in with Gabby Gaudet.
And here with Carol Castile, the owner of Whispering Oaks Farm, who does send out She's a Julie. Carol, just talk a little bit about your relationship, both professionally and personally, with Steve Asmussen.
Yeah, it's a great relationship. Steve and I have been together for quite some time, probably over a decade now, owning and buying and running horses together. Got to be really close friends. Obviously, we do a lot. Steve's bought a lot of nice horses for me. And this filly was really passionate to him as when we bought her as a yearling, and we knew she was going to be very special as an early 2-year-old.
When you saw some of her attributes, what actually led you to name her after Steve's wife?
Well, you know, that comes with, you know, Steve's wife and I have a lot in common. You know, we're both cancer surviving recipients, and you know, Julie is just a warrior and, you know, and a fighter. And, you know, so once we got her and we got through all that together, her and I just asked if I could name her after her, because if she obviously had as much heart and passion about life and in general as Julie, that she would be a great horse. And he was absolutely astounded, and so was Julie. They're phenomenal people, great to the horse industry, and just what a pleasure to have such a great horse to be named after his wife and Steve, which are phenomenal to the horse industry.
And this filly clearly has a lot of heart, talent, and courage. How does it feel to be on the big stage here? You're in the Grade 1 Alabama today.
It's pretty overwhelming for a Louisiana Cajun boy, obviously. You know, we have a lot of Cajun history with riders and horsemen from Louisiana, but it's absolutely a pleasure. Wouldn't want to be here with anybody else, you know, than Steve and Julie and this horse, and, you know, the aptitude and the story behind it. And would be lovely to have a great win today.
Carl, what a wonderful story. Best of luck here.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys.
All right. She's a Julie, definitely the sentimental pick here in the Alabama, Greg.
Yeah, without question. Of course, we talked about how Julie had neck and throat cancer back in September 2015. By March of 2016, and that was the year Steve Asmussen, her husband, would be inducted in the Hall of Fame, she was cancer-free. So Steve said the way that she came through that battle, it was an absolute no-brainer that she'd be the one to introduce him at the Hall of Fame ceremony.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, look, in horse racing, we're so in depth in our business and spend so many hours at the track. To have the support of a wife like that, it just means everything.
So She's a Julie. 6-1 here. Ricardo Santana Jr. will be aboard. He has had a very nice meet. See him up there on the board with 14 victories, but it's Irad Ortiz Jr. who's been kind of paving the way here. But Jose Ortiz, he's won this meet 2 years in a row as the top jockey. He won this race last year on a late. He'll be on the 2 Eskimo Kisses 7-1 shot coming up.
Yeah, a horse that's going to need some pace in this race. And where does the pace come from? Well, maybe all the way on the outside by Tog Vu to me will be part of that pace. She didn't break all that well in the Indiana Oaks, but got right back into it right away. I'll be curious to see from that outside post if she can get good position. As Andy said, they break at the top of the stretch. There is plenty of time to maneuver in this race before that first turn.
Well, that was our meet's leading rider you saw on Figuerella's Queen, Irad Ortiz Jr. She was no match for Tog Vu to me, Andy, back when they met on July 14th in that Indiana Oaks.
I can't say enough good about the Indiana Oaks, and was very interested to hear, as I mentioned, the fourth-place finisher coming back and being a nice horse and Geo game for Mark Casse in the Monmouth Oaks earlier today. If you look at the pace of that race, the Indiana Oaks, of 23 for the first quarter and 46-3, just to put into perspective, the Indiana Derby, the Derby for the boys, was run a race later. They went 23-3 and 47-4, and the speed finished second there. It didn't even win, and they were going slowly. They were flying in that race, and Tog Vu to me still ran out from the field. The speed in that race finished sixth behind her, so it took a toll on the others. This is a very, very good filly, Paul.
No, she is. And like when you look at her PPs, like I said, Mia Mischief is not a long-distance horse. She is a talented sprinter who gave it all she could here and ran a tough second. Then she loses the Monomoy Girl around one turn. She passed the test around two turns. I get it. She's 1-9. Now, do you want to take 5-2 against maybe Midnight Bisou and figure that she's going to get the mile and a quarter?
Yeah, I mean, just because she's 1-9, and I'm not saying you're saying it at all, you know, people shouldn't think she didn't run a good race because she ran very well in there. And I'm going to tell you something, Tom, and feel free to comment on this. I think there's an argument that she might come out of this race as the second best 3-year-old filly in the country on the dirt.
Yeah, look, just be careful of those split times at Indiana Grand. The 5,000 claimers run 9 and change there every day, so I don't know that I trust those times.
Tom, just to add to that, if you compare to some times earlier today, $25,000 claimers, 24-3 going long. 3-year-old Nut, mile 16th, 25. So the fractions were decidedly slow all day at Indiana Grand that day.
About to load up for the Alabama. Let's check in with Maggie Wolfendale.
It is a cooler day, about 10 degrees with far less humidity than the CCA Oaks. She's still got a little hot out here. Now, Mike did say she's behaving a bit better, but she's still hot in relative terms to the rest of the field here, including my pick, and I know a couple other people's pick, in number 8, Tog Vu to me, who just looks sensational out here. She's not turned a hair, and since I'd seen her back at Belmont Day, she's gotten stronger. She's put on more muscle mass. I think this is the up-and-comer, guys.
We're about to find out. They are just about loaded. There is She's a Julie stepping in. And Tog Vu to me, she'll be setting the pace. It is the Grade 1 Alabama. Let's send it upstairs to the voice of horse racing's Triple Crown for the call. Here's Larry Colmus.
And acting up there a bit in the starting gate is Auspicious Babe, a bit riled up here, but settling down. They're off in the Alabama. Auspicious Babe missed the break by just a bit. She's a Julie goes out to the front, along with Figuerella's Queen and Tog Vu to me. So it's these three to set the pace in the Alabama, with Coach Rocks behind them running in fourth. Patti Bianchi is fifth, and Mike Smith has Midnight Bisou well off the pace here. She's a good 8 lengths behind in the race to that first turn. Then it's 2.5 lengths more to Auspicious Babe, who's second last, and late running Eskimo Kisses just lingering along in the back. That pace is fast. 22.52 was the opening quarter mile here. Tog Vu to me on top. Onto the backstretch in front by 1.5 lengths in the Alabama. She's a Julia's second, Figuerella's Queen on the outside third. Patti Bianchi is fourth. Coach Rocks up running in fifth position here, 4 lengths off the lead. 3 lengths more back to Midnight Bisou. And then comes Auspicious Babe to the inside. Eskimo Kisses trails through a 46.79 demanding half mile. Tog Vu to me. Up the backstretch in front by 1.5 lengths over She's a Julie. And then comes Coach Rocks, Patti Bianchi, and a 3-wide Figuerella's Queen. And then Midnight Bisou, she's a bit closer now. She's 6 lengths off the lead at the half-mile pole and beginning her run. Then comes Auspicious Babe and Eskimo Kisses. 3/4, 111.86 seconds. And it is Julien Leparoux and Tog Vu to me on top as they make their way into the far turn. She's a Julia second, and Midnight Bisou is looming large now. She's up there running in third and going 3 wide. Right behind her, Eskimo Kisses makes her run. Then Coach Rocks on the inside. They're into the stretch. Tog Vu to me turns for home in front in the Alabama. Midnight Bisou on the outside. Eskimo Kisses is coming on too. She's a Julia's fourth. Eskimo Kisses strikes the front with a furlong to run and starts to pull away. And then it's Talk Veuve to Me, followed by Midnight Bisou on the outside, and She's a Julie. But it's Eskimo Kisses and Jose Ortiz in the Alabama. She's a Julie was second, Midnight Bisou was third, Talk Veuve to Me was fourth, and a final time of 2 minutes, 3.22 seconds.
Back-to-back for Jose Ortiz in the Alabama. He won it on the late last year for Claiborne and Adele Dillschneider. Hall of Famer Belmont this year with Kenny McPeek and Gainesway Stable.
Talk Veuve to Me set an incredibly fast pace, 22 and change, 46 and change for the half mile, going a mile and a quarter. That's just not sustainable. This race absolutely set up for someone to close from off the pace, and Eskimo Kisses did just that, ran well. You saw her pulling up down to a jog. She actually stumbled a couple of times past the finish line. I'm assuming she's fine. Maggie will help us out with that. But she's probably just a tired racehorse after running that last quarter very, very quickly and distancing this group.
Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing move. You could tell. I looked over to Andy. I'm like, wow, the two's loaded. And Jose took a little bit of a shot cutting inside instead of going around horses. But she just, you're right. I mean, the pace was breakneck.
Great call by you, Paul. And you said to me, we were sitting here downstairs, 3/8 pole, she's going to win, and win she did. Yeah. Nice performance by the horse who set the pace, Talk Veuve to Me. Disappointing effort for the favorite.
Yeah. Let's go to Maggie Wolfendale.
Out here with the 2018 Alabama winner. It is Eskimo Kisses. Jose Ortiz, back-to-back Alabamas. Won this one a little bit different fashion here. You're a little bit more dirty than last year, Jose. But talk about her final kick.
It was great. I just tried to follow the instruction by Kenny. He told me set it back and let it take you there. And when we passed the half a mile, she take me there. He said stay inside as long as you could. I could have followed Mike and go for a while, but I decided to take a shot and follow Julian, caught the corner, and I'm glad it worked out.
And Kenny McPeek is a guy who's won big races with very detailed instructions for his riders, and it tends to pay off. You also galloped this filly for him on Thursday, Jose. How much did all that come together and lead to a victory?
I mean, he told me to go get on her, so I could know her a little bit since it's the first time I'm riding her. And I galloped her on Thursday morning at 6 o'clock, and she was strong. She was very strong, and I knew she felt good for the race. And I was very happy with the gallop that she gave me on Thursday. And like I say, I appreciate Kenny. Gave me great instructions. He said, you get stuck inside. It's my fault. And he gave me a lot of confidence, so I ride it like that. I'm glad that we won the race.
Your job well done. She looks like a promising filly. Glad things finally worked out for her to get a victory in a Grade 1, no less the Alabama, Jose.
Thank you.
All right, guys, Kenny McPeek has took down 2 Grade 1s here with those specific instructions to stay inside. I think it was the Travers with Golden Ticket, Greg.
No, how about that? That was, I believe that was the dead heat with Alpha. And now gets another one with Eskimo Kisses, 9-1. First win since way back at Oaklawn in February on a sloppy racetrack for this filly.
She's danced all the dances, and she really looked good today and got exactly what she wanted up front in the pace. This race was vulnerable from the standpoint that the 2 favorites, they didn't look like the right ones going this distance.
They did not. And how much of that, too, was they went so quick early in this race, so it sort of softened things up for a horse to come from off of it.
And it changed everything about the dynamics of the race. When Talk Veuve to Me is going 46 and change for an opening half mile, look, I agree. She ran a big race for doing that opening half mile. But she's not going to win any of these races going that far if she can't settle down and go slower than that in the early part of the race.
So Eskimo Kisses, a dirty Jose Ortiz getting some mud in the face, but well worth it for a Grade 1 win in this prestigious Alabama here at Saratoga. And what a moment for Kenny McPeek. He's had some big wins over the course of his career. One of the biggest upsets in the Triple Crown racing. Sarava at 70-some-odd to 1 years ago. Maggie mentioned that Travers dead heat victory with Golden Ticket, and now Grade 1 Alabama.
I have a question for Tom Amis
at
this
this
point.
Yeah, we want to know if the Fairground Oaks was a key race now, Tom.
Yeah, I'm beginning to think it is. I just texted my owners and I said I'm sick.
You know,
that
Tom,
we came down with a cough this past week because I would have liked to have been in here too with that pace set up.
Look at it this way, Tom. It's always much better to be on the roof with Greg Wolf than in the winner's circle for a Grade 1, right?
Not just any Grade 1, Andy. This is, in my opinion, other than the Kentucky Oaks, the most prestigious 3-year-old filly race in the country.
Anybody got a dunce cap for the roof?
Well, I think a lot of people were wrong in thinking, and not only how this would play out. I don't think anyone thought Tuck Vuvdemy would try and go that fast up front. 22-2, 46-3. Had to feel real good seeing those fractions that it was setting up for someone to come from off the pace.
They were fast fractions, but just to be fair, the first quarter is run completely on a straightaway. So, and I'm not saying it wasn't fast, but it was a little bit quick because of the straightaway. I think that's fair, right?
I think it's fair, but come on, Andy. The half at 46 and change?
No, I'm not denying it was a fast pace. I just want to point out that the straightaway for the first quarter will always make that first quarter a little bit faster than it would be.
Fair.
It's still probably 23-1 or 23-2, which is moving around a turn.
Jose Ortiz, he's been the meet's leading rider each of the last 2 years here at Saratoga. Meet started out a little slow for him. He was asked about it by a lot of the media, saying, when are you going to get going? Of course, he had that monster day at Monmouth when he went out of town. He won as many races that day, including the Haskell Invitational that he'd won in about a week and a half, 2 weeks of the meet here at Saratoga, but he's starting to get going now.
He is indeed. Look, I can't say enough about Eskimo Kisses today. She just ran a really, really good race. Her other wins, you know, she's kind of gotten up just in time or maybe just missed. This was a dominant performance. A filly that's going to be going more and more marathon distances in her future.
Eskimo Kisses, Gainesway Stable, Jose Ortiz and Kenny McPeak. Shining brightest in one of the most important 3-year-old filly races in the land, the Grade 1 Alabama. We'll be back.
Bayern turning for home in front. Coast of New York on the outside. California Chrome is third. Shared Belief laboring back to in fifth. 1 furlong to run. Bayern, Coast of New York. California Chrome on the outside. The three of them come to the wire. Bayern, Coast of New York. California Chrome. Here's the finish. Bayern holds on.
Three-quarters, 111.86 seconds. And it is Julien Leparoux and Talk Vuvdemy on top as they make their way into the far turn. She's a Julia second, and Midnight Bijou is looming large now. She's up there running in third and going 3 wide. Right behind her, Eskimo Kisses makes her run. Then Coach Rocks on the inside. They're into the stretch. Talk Vuvdemy turns for home in front in the Alabama. Midnight Bijou on the outside. Eskimo Kisses is coming on too. She's a Julia's fourth. Eskimo Kisses strikes the front with a furlong to run and starts to pull away. And then it's Talk Vuvdemy, followed by Midnight Bijou on the outside, and she's a Julie. But it's Eskimo Kisses and Jose Ortiz in the Alabama.
What a performance and a surprise upset win here. Eskimo Kisses, the daughter of To Honor and Serve, winning the Grade 1 Alabama. Let's go downstairs to Gabby Gaudet.
Well, here was winning trainer Kenny McPeak. And Kenny, when you were watching the race and you saw 22 and change, 46 and change early fractions, what was going through your mind?
Well, I was a little bit worried he was too far back, but then when you saw the fractions, you had to feel a lot better about it. But this filly's a filly that has to be set on a certain way. I mean, and he did it. He nailed it. You need a little bit of hold of her. You let her bounces her out a little bit, and then you got to save her run for what I call a slingshot run. Wait as long as you can. When you see the whites of their eyes, cut her loose. And he did it beautiful.
And he also made this really savvy move kind of by the quarter pole to not go outside of horses, but actually dip down to the rail. Do you think that even made a little bit of a difference?
I specifically told him, gamble inside. I said she likes to run inside. Anybody that saw some of her earlier races, the one she lost, she went real wide. Her better ones, she went inside. I said, gamble. Look, it's a big race, and I think we've got to make up that kind of distance. Of course, as easy as she won, maybe he could have gone 8 wide. Who knows?
Who knows? But I know you've been building up to the Alabama, kind of building up to this crescendo. How does it feel to get this victory with this filly?
Well, look, there's so many people involved that I'm thrilled to have horses for. You know, Anthony Beck's the majority owner, Harold Lerner, who I consider a good friend and client. You know, Jack Cohen is in, and Andrew Rosen, who came in before the Oaks. I mean, these are class people. I love working for those kind of people, and they give me an opportunity to do what I do.
Congratulations, Kenny.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Eskimo Kisses has danced all the dances and finally got the crown today, guys.
Well, it's 2012, back when Kenny McPeak won the Travers in that dead heat, and now 6 years later, with a 3-year-old filly, he gets a grade 1 in the Alabama.
You got to admire him. Kenny is not afraid to take a shot. You know, he knows his horses, and look, he enters in big races. He's come away with a lot of them.
We still have one more race to go here on this tremendous day of action. We're going to take a look at the Naira Bets late pick 5 follow along. That's going to open things up huge here in this sequence. So biggest price so far with one leg still to come. And a look at Jose Ortiz, his wife Taylor, and the little one. And he's one of the top riders in the country, coming off that Eclipse Award last year, ending Javier Castellano's streak. And he's been trying to get going here at this meet. Nothing like a grade 1, one of the most prestigious races to kind of kickstart things for you at the meet. Race 10 coming up. Was scheduled for the turf. We're 7 furlongs now on the main track and driven by Thunder. Current 5-2 favorite in here. It's Todd Pletcher and John Velasquez Rapoli stable.
Yeah, look, I think it's interesting. This is a Todd Pletcher claim back, and the horse has done very well since. You rarely see Todd Pletcher claim horses, much less claim something back that he's had. But a horse that maybe could be considered one-dimensional speed. In other words, if he gets challenged early, it's not going to be his day. And he's got speed right outside of him in the 16, Brimstone.
By the way, 3 horses. We had a pick 6 carryover going into today. The 5, 7, 10, or 16 result in the pick 6 carryover of nearly $250,000, I'm being told, for Sunday. So 16, I thought, was maybe the horse to beat in this race.
You save some payroll for that? You got bank? You got bank there or not?
I'm gonna need a loan.
Maybe can we partner up?
Oh, we could do that.
Yeah, I like doing that.
I got bounced leg 1 of the Naira Bets late pick 5, so my bankroll a little low right now. Run Happy, of course, so brings you our show in part each and every day. There he is in legendary stall number 1 on the farm in Paris, Kentucky. And he was sensational when he was doing his thing as a sprinter. Perfect 7 for 7 sprinting. He was doing it all without running on Lasix medication. One of his big performances came right here at Saratoga in the King's Bishop, and going to win the Breeders' Cup at Keeneland in track record time as well. Well, driven by Thunder wins this last race, the 13 in here. That would result in the pick 6 getting hit. John Velasquez on board here for trainer Todd Pletcher. Of course, John Velasquez won more races at Saratoga than any other rider in the history of this sport. Time for Run Happy Jock Talk with Johnny V.
I go into the race to try to do the best I can to win the race, so I'm not surprised if I win it, you know what I mean? You're just more disappointed when they don't run any good, whether you had good odds or bad odds, you know. You think that you have a chance when you're in the race. So I look at it that way, you know. I want to go in to win the race, and to say it's a favorable moment or a surprise moment, no, I want to win every time. Well, before I wanted to be a jockey, I always was interested in finance, you know, anything with finance, an accountant, or anything that interests me with numbers and stuff like that. That's what I always looked up into, and I don't know. I went into the business of horse racing. I don't have it very heavy. I don't do very much. The time that I have off, I try to spend it with the kids the best I can. And in the time that I do have off, I read, and I try to educate myself. And I think that's my habit, educating myself and learning new things. You know, I've been reading a book for Warren Buffett. So it's a very recent book that I haven't finished, by the way. But you know, I'm still on that book and learning new things.
His record-breaking accomplishments on the racetrack paved his way here to the Stall of Legends. Now retired to stud, we welcome the dawning of a new era as this esteemed champion hopes to stake his claim to immortality. His blazing speed and striking good looks have been passed down to his remarkable first foals. Foals that will carry the flag of their famous father and one day hope to break records of their own. Medication-free and undefeated in sprint competition. Run happy, standing at Claiborne Farm. Kentucky Derby winner Orb was the leading freshman sales sire of weanlings, yearlings, and 2-year-olds. On the track, his runners have scored on both dirt and turf, including stakes winners Autumn Warrior and Orvolution, stakes performer Scrapper, and TDN Rising Star Explorer. In the sales ring, his progeny continue to sell well beyond his stud fee, including the $1 million co-sale topper at Saratoga, classic winner, classic pedigree, Orb, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Back on Saratoga Live, Grade 1 Alabama in the books. And we still have one more to come here. When we're done, Del Mar Racing going on. You could get a 250,000 point all split. So be sure and get involved in that when we wrap up here at Saratoga. Pacific Classic, of course, coming up. That is their big one this afternoon. Pavel back in action after that incredible performance in the Stephen Foster. And, of course, Accelerate for John Sadler, who was sensational in the Gold Cup won the big cap as well, now trying to pull off the triumvirate of the big 3 Grade 1s in California.
Maybe the mystery horse of Bob Baffert's that comes in from Argentina. You know, there's going to be a lot that's determined about who the leaders of this division are after this race, but certainly going in, it's your horse Accelerate we're watching right there.
He's been tremendous, earned a 111 buyer for his victory in the Grade 1 Gold Cup. Of course, half-brother to Triple Crown winner Justify the Lieutenant lining up in this race as well. And how popular a win would that be? Drayden Van Dyke on board for Mike McCarthy. Second chance cash back on the Pacific Classic. $20 win bet. You get $20 if your horse finishes second. Available on the Naira Bets app only at nairabets.com. Well, we have some unfortunate news to report from out on the West Coast. This comes from Jeremy Balin from the Blood Horse, reported earlier this morning in a workout. Multiple Grade 1 winner Unique Bella has been retired from racing. Worked earlier today, discovered that she had a chip in her sesamoid. That was discovered, so she has been retired from racing. Sad to hear.
Yeah, a great mare, and those sesamoid chips, you just can't come back from them. So look, she'll be a great broodmare.
We have our paddock report coming up for our nightcap back here at Saratoga. $25,000 claiming race ahead. Look at the current odds. Driven by Thunder, still our favorite at 2-1 on the board. Let's check in with Maggie Wolfendale for a paddock report brought to you by Hillendale Farm. Now standing Curlin for $150,000.
Thanks, Greg. And we'll check in with number 6, Bitumen here, who is taking a lot of money as of right now. First off the claim for trainer Dave Duggan, who can be quite crafty with his first off the claims. Though kudos to previous connections. I mean, they pretty much resurrected this horse's career after claiming him for $7,500 back at Parks. But he looks phenomenal here. This is the same Bitumen that won the Sanford going back to his 2-year-old year for Eddie Keneally. And he is taking money. The blinkers come off here today. The connection stating that, yes, they would have tried the turf, but they were much more happier when the rain was coming, and this one was taken off. Number 8 is Altar Boy, one of 2 Rudy Rodriguez horses. And you don't often see Rudy Rodriguez, have a horse and it perform badly, and this guy was banned off in his last start. He comes back here today. They wanted turf for him. He is a bit more proficient on that surface. He does look fit from what I can see, and one of the actually better times I've seen him, because he's not a horse that tends to look well overall. So I don't know. I'd still proceed with caution though with Altar Boy, but not the case for Rudy's other horse in here. Coming off the back of a win is number 16, Brimstone. Now the big question is, will he be effective here at Saratoga going the 7 as opposed to the 1.125 over that wet track, which he also loves? But guys, he has come out of that race looking sensational here. It seems as though Brimstone's confidence is up, and he loves it at the Spa.
Well, that's good to hear, Maggie, because I think he's actually the horse to beat, and I'm surprised that he's not the favorite in here, and I'm very surprised that he's not covering the pick 6, and there's 2 tickets on the number 13 horse in this race, the driven horse for Todd Pletcher, driven by Thunder. I think Bitumen is the horse to beat. I don't love this stat, but not Bitumen, excuse me, Brimstone, outside speed.
Yeah, you're true. There's maybe the 13 can show some speed like he's shown on a turf course, but you're right. The 16 does hold the cards when it comes to that, getting to the front end. Bitumen is very interesting in the 6 because he's stretching out for the first time. You know?
Let's talk, though, about the 13 driven by Thunder, who's the co-favorite, covered twice in the pick 6.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I think this horse really came alive in the turf, and overall is not a dirt horse, it's a turf horse. Now, I know he has a win here with an 83 buyer. That was at 3-5 against an extremely weak field when he got to dominate in the front end at a moderate pace. I think it's apples and oranges. I don't want any part of this horse.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the other side. And the reason why I like this horse is when he claimed the horse, he put the horse around 2 turns. This horse has never been around 2 turns on the dirt. So I'm wondering, Andy, was it the turf or is the 2 turns made him a little bit better?
I look at his overall record. Okay. To me, he's just much better on the turf than he is on the dirt. Doesn't mean he can't win. I think he's badly overbet because of connections. Connections that are frankly struggling at this meet. And I was glad to hear Maggie saying that Bitumen looked good in this race, because I don't know why Bitumen shouldn't be a major player in this race. He's an honest-to-goodness dirt horse, and I love his trainer, Dave Duggan. I think Dave Duggan is one of these guys that just doesn't have that many horses, so he's going to be way under the radar, and I like to see him do well with Bitumen. But right now we're looking at the number 10 horse, California Swing, I apologize, who's actually my top choice because I was looking for some price. I just think he's going to appreciate turning back from 2 turns to 1, Paul.
No, you're right. And, you know, that might actually give him a little bit punch late. He has shown to come from behind before on the turf. I don't know why he can't do it on the dirt. He could probably sit a good trip. He's not fast enough to get to the front, so I think he'll have some horses to
I mean, he's 5-1. If you look at him, he's consistently runs faster dirt races than Driven by Thunder does.
Yeah.
I think Driven by Thunder, and maybe I'll be badly wrong, I'm alive to 4 horses to pick 4. None of them are Driven by Thunder. I'm alive to 6, 8, 10, 13, 10, 16, excuse me. I just think Driven by Thunder is the edge in here is to try to beat him. I could be wrong, though.
I understand where you're going. And to go back upstairs, guys, what you were talking about, Unique Bella, really tough to lose a 3-time Grade 1 winner whose next stop was going to be the Zenyatta Stakes and then the Breeders' Cup Classic. Now, we might see more 3-year-old fillies starting to go for that Breeders' Cup Classic, or at least Filly and Mare Classic.
Yeah, it's a big loss for the division. And she was a star, and that's just sad news to have to report. She had accomplished so much on the racetrack, but we'll see now. Yeah, maybe some of these 3-year-old Phil. Obviously, Monomoy Girl was rolling along, and no matter what happened and who was in this division,
6 and 13,
she was going to be a big player.
No, she was indeed, and you know, especially out in the West Coast. I mean, she was the pro tem leader out there for sure.
Well, this one coming up in here, it's going to be interesting. We have the 13 Driven by Thunder, the 16 Brimstone. They both look like they want to battle on the front end here in this spot, and that would be music to the ears of Bitumen.
I think it will. Let's talk about the 16, our favorite, Brimstone. This is a horse that's been claimed a number of times, and the people that have claimed this horse are all big claiming trainers. The Engleharts, Steve Asmussen, David Jacobson. So when this horse goes from 25,000 off the claim and drops to 16, where were those guys to claim this horse back in his last start? None of them showed up. That, to me, is a sign that this horse, even though won that day, may not be the right horse in this spot.
Cutting back, remember, going 7 furlongs here in this spot here with a surface switch. Was scheduled for a mile inner turf, now 7 furlongs. Main track here to close things out. But yeah, Brimstone, main track only runner. Won here July 26th on the sloppy racetrack, gate to wire. That was at 1 1/8. We'll now try and get another victory here at the meet. 2 for 4 here lifetime on this Saratoga surface. Called a post from Sam the Bugler. The 1, 2, 3, and 4 all scratched. So we start off with the 5 who now inherits the rail. King of New York for David Donk.
1 1/8 to 7 furlongs for this race, but at the end of the day, his recent form is just not good, especially on the dirt, though he's handled it in the past.
Bitumen, he was flying late back on August the 5th here at Saratoga at 7 furlongs. He'll take blinkers off today for David Duggan.
He by far benefits the most, besides the main track only horses are getting taken off, and he's a player in here.
Indebted, John Morrison, the trainer, Rajiv Mirage aboard.
He's really a much better turf horse than dirt horse, strictly taking a shot with him.
Altar Boy at 9 to 1 on the board for Rudy Rodriguez. Was vanned off last start. That was all the way back in March at Aqueduct.
Yeah, very rarely do you see void of claim out in New York, but this horse got voided of claim, so back in for the 25 tag.
California Swing. Luis Saez rides for trainer Mike Maker.
Good form. I mean, listen, the last 3 races, you cannot argue that this colt by Malibu Moon has run his heart out. So I think a player in here at 4 to 1.
Those Rapoli Stable Silks on Driven by Thunder with John Velasquez and Todd Pletcher.
Starting to drift up at 3 to 1 right now. His best form is really on the turf.
And the main track only entrant, the 16 Brimstone. Another Rudy Rodriguez runner, second off the claim. Looking to get back in this winner's circle at the meet for the second time.
Yeah, now he's got 300 and almost 50,000 in the bank. And old California horse, that's where he started his career from old Tom Bell. And he's made a good career out of himself out here in New York now.
It is shocking that Brimstone not covered in this pick 6. The main track only runner. We're on the main track, and he's the favorite right now, 2 to 1. But if this horse wins, we have a pick 6 carryover heading into Sunday afternoon. Our nightcap on Alabama Days coming up next.
Bet the horses anywhere, anytime with Naira Bets.
Rushes out of there to take the lead.
It's easy on your computer or Naira Bets app. Earn valuable reward points on bets. Play in our exclusive promotions and earn cash rebates. Sign up now. Bet $200 and get $200. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. NairaBets.com.
We're back on Saratoga Live. Look at that crowd here on one of the biggest days of this meet, Alabama Day. Always one of the most popular days here at this meet, and the house is packed. We saw a stellar performance from Eskimo Kisses. You download the Naira Bets app, play along with all the races we show you each and every day here on the show on Saratoga Live. Download on the App Store or NairaBets.com. Let's take a look at the Saratoga Showdown and our standings, how it played out with still one race to go here. And we have a definitive leader here, but anything can happen here in this last race. Again, you can play that contest each and every day by going to Naira.com/showdown to get involved. We're going to head downstairs now, check in with Maggie Wolfendale and Gabby Gaudet.
Thanks, Greg. And Gabby and I kind of wanted to touch on the pace out here. A horse that got a pretty vigorous warm-up was California Swing. And Gabby, he kind of won me over once I saw him on the track, but he's not going to have an easy task in front of him.
Absolutely not. I mean, even going 9 furlongs last time out, he couldn't necessarily make the lead. So now on the cutback, you'd have to think it at least takes a little bit of wind out of his sails. But I think it's his best way of going. So why not Luis Saez just try to get aggressive? I mean, unfortunately, Driven by Thunder and Brimstone are going to be just to his outside, but at least he's got the advantage of being inside and maybe getting that first jump.
Yeah, and Louis can be aggressive when he wants to be, but a guy who's coming off the back of the Alabama win is Jose Ortiz with Bitumen. Gabby, I couldn't get over how good this horse looks, and the fact that he's rounding back into form is promising.
Yeah, this was my hopeful pick 2 years ago. That didn't pan out too well for me. But as you said, Jose Ortiz, sometimes you carry that momentum into the last race as well. The race could surely set up for this horse. I mean, we're talking about the pace scenario. I think there are 3 kind of need the lead types to his outside. I could foresee a situation where he sits chilly and just rallies from off the pace. And there's no doubt about it, Maggie, as you said, he is definitely rounding back into form.
All right, guys, both of us liking this new acquisition for the Dave Duggan barn, and he's a good guy. I would love to see Dave win as well.
Well, he's certainly run 2 of the best races of his career, at least in a long, long time, each of the last 2 starts, and then one of those just happened to be here at Saratoga.
No, it did indeed, and he's going to get a good setup. I mean, I think the pace comes all the way from the outside with Brimstone and Driven by Thunder. 2 horses, you can make a strong case that they need to clear a field to run their best race. It doesn't happen because they're both in this race. So if they eliminate each other, who's going to pick up the pieces? More than likely, our 6 horse.
He's making the equipment change. The shades coming off this afternoon. Will he have that potent closing kick here? Should get plenty of speed to set it up for him, guys.
We'll see. I mean, we'll see how fast they go. We have a track that overall has been kind of speed, obviously.
Yeah, it has.
In the Alabama, we saw the closer, but as been mentioned, the pace was pretty wicked. And it's not like the speeds ran that badly in there. We'll see how much they battle out there. I expect a fairly run race. I'm hoping for one.
Yeah.
No one's given any love to my horse, California Swing. I'm a little hurt.
I think the 5 King of New York's your horse that comes from way out of it to round this out at a big price, boys.
Oh, even though this race taking off the turf, I mean, it's a good way to close things out. A lot of ways to go here in this race. It is the 16, though, the favorite, the last in line, the main track only entrant, Brimstone. He'd result in a pick 6 carryover. Let's send it upstairs to Larry Colmus.
Ready for the start. They're off. Brimstone fires out of the gate. And so too Driven by Thunder. These 2 weigh the best, and they're 4 lengths clear of their competition already. California Swing came out running in 3rd. And then it's Altar Boy 4th on the inside by another 3 lengths. King of New York is next. Then comes Indebted and Bitumen at the back of the pack up the backstretch. Driven by Thunder to the front here through a 23.16 quarter. Brimstone sits back, runs a length and a half behind in 2nd. Altar Boy is 3rd on the inside. California Swing pushed along from 4th, 4.5 lengths off the lead with a half mile to run. Then Bitumen in 5th, followed by King of New York and Indebted as they make their way around the far turn. Driven by Thunder on top. 3 furlongs to go. The half was 46.17 seconds. And now Brimstone moves up alongside, and the 2 of them hook up once again. Brimstone on the outside to the front. Driven by Thunder is 2nd. California Swing trying to get going from 3rd. Altar Boy cuts the corner. And on the far outside, it is Bitumen, then King of New York. Driven by Thunder digs in on the inside of Brimstone and has another gear. Driven by Thunder puts away Brimstone. And then it's California Swing on the outside, followed by Bitumen, but it's Driven by Thunder and John Velasquez to do it by 4.5 lengths. California Swing was 2nd, Brimstone and Bitumen.
Driven by Thunder up there on the pace and challenge, and still finds more and puts this field away.
Yeah, John Velasquez had one thing on his mind when he left the gate. This horse saw the stick and said, let's go. I was a little surprised that Brimstone sat off him as hard as he did, but that actually enabled a one-dimensional horse like Driven by Thunder to get a big heart down the lane, and those silks are literally one of the few clean ones in this race, as you're going to see some finishers on the end that were in his wake.
Well, the 13 Driven by Thunder, I didn't like him. He got the job done. Congratulations to those that have him. He won easily. I have no idea why Irad Ortiz aggressively rode Brimstone from the gate, had the lead, and then ripped his face off. What kind of ride was that?
Listen, I picked the 13, and I don't get it. I'd actually like to go back to the beginning because Tom hit the nail on the head. Johnny Velasquez was on go from the get-go. Irad Ortiz was not. And the 16 could have crossed and cleared within, I would say, 5 to 10 steps, if you can see the pan view.
Well, the pan is much easier to see it.
But
I mean,
he could have went to the front.
Irad went. Yeah. He went, he was aggressive, he had the lead, and he said, nah, I don't want it. I don't understand that thinking. Speed's been good all day. I think this race could have had a very different outcome if Irad had continued on for the lead, and I don't understand why he didn't do that.
Yeah, hey, guys, there was one aggressive rider out of the gate.
Not right away there is. No, Irad's going right there. You're wrong. The 16's going, he's in front of him, and he decides to take back. Why would he do that?
Why? Confusing.
Well, Driven by Thunder in the end goes off as the favorite. He gets the job done at 2-1 here to close things out. 13-10, 16-6. Driven by Thunder. A lot of us feel like that right now. Oh, I thought the head was buried. We'll be back.
This graded stakes winner and multiple Grade 1 performer by Tapit has become one of the nation's leading sires of 2-year-olds. Ranked #1 in his crop by number of winners, he sired 11 stakes horses in 2017, including graded stakes winners Wild Shot and Oklahoma Derby winner Untrapped. At the sales, his yearlings have sold up to $480,000. Trap Shot, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Back on Saratoga Live. I believe this is, so I've been seeing this, I think it's a red-tailed hawk, and I've seen it all over. My sister's huge in birding. She wrote a book on it, and we saw this red-tailed hawk perched over by the paddock. And then, no, I saw it with you, yeah, a couple days ago. This is his home.
This is his home. This is his territory.
Absolutely.
Nobody comes around him. I can trust you.
He rules the roost.
That's a big bird.
The talons, look at those. Those could dig in.
They probably have, right? You didn't get that big by not digging in.
Driven by Thunder, closing things out. Someone hit the pick six today.
Congratulations.
$6.90 for the win here. Rapoli Stable, Todd Pletcher, John Velasquez. Pick four comes back $333. Naira Bets late pick five, $3,760. The pick six, there was a carryover of $40,000. $123,803. Well done. There's New York Racing Association President and CEO Chris Kay in the winner's circle. Saw him earlier today talking about the Triple Crown Trophy that was on site this afternoon that he commissioned Roberto Santo to create, and we got to use it immediately thereafter. Justify letting us borrow that today here at Saratoga.
It looked great, didn't it? And then look, the trainer signed autograph session, you know, as it relates to, you know, cancer research. It's all those things. Saratoga is so much more than just a racetrack. Don't get me wrong. It's about racing here, but it's about the things that surround racing as well. That's what makes it so good.
Yeah, the sport matters. Where retired thoroughbreds go matters, all of that. But everyone really appreciates the sport, the jockeys, the trainers, the horses so much. Everyone just really loves it and appreciates here on the East Coast, unlike really anywhere else. That's why this place is so special. We saw some special performances here this afternoon, certainly Rushing Fall. in the Lake Placid. Getting back in the winner's circle was impressive, and I think a result that not many thought would happen in the Alabama.
Yeah, well, Paula Duca did, actually. You were all
That's
over
right.
Eskimo Kisses. I think Gabby liked her as well. It's been a long day, so my memory's a little fuzzy, but it was an excellent Tour de Force performance. Whether or not ultimately she's that much better than those horses, she was today. Great performance by her, and it's great to see Rushing Falls get back on track as well.
Yeah, I think the story is Rushing Fall. Listen, I get that Eskimo Kisses won the race, and it was a horse that I liked, but she got the perfect setup. The story is Rushing Fall. She had a little bit of a hiccup, a temperature, but we're seeing a filly that could be a superstar this upcoming year and maybe to the next year.
And I'll tell you something else. It was really a day of stars today. Such a long day that my memory doesn't serve me. I'm going to give you guys a name to remember, and you watched it earlier. Endorsed, the 2-year-old that won for Kieran McLaughlin. That's one to remember.
Did Andy just knock his memory? I've never seen him do that in my life.
Wow, he doesn't knock much of his own. Yeah, Endorsed one back in race 4, an impressive first-time starter for Godolphin, son of Medaglia d'Oro. But Bob Edwards, E5 Racing's Rushing Fall, Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf winner, gets back in the win column after coming off the only defeat of her career, and she looks like she has gotten even better. And then it was Eskimo Kisses in the Grade 1 Alabama, coming from off the pace, and Jose Ortiz back-to-back wins. We will see on Sunday.